and girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello! Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. What's up? How y'all doing? Happy Thursday. Great to be back with you again. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me is the host of the program, the man, the myth, the legend, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate, Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the content cash cow, Lonzo, doing the heavy lifting today. What up, Zoe?
You forgot what day it was, didn't you?
I did not forget.
There's a slight hesitation that made it sound like, okay, so you're just saying it was a point of emphasis. You're leading up to the fact that it's Thursday.
No, I definitely looked down because I'm like, is it Wednesday or Thursday? That is actually 100% what happened. I am caught.
I've just noticed that that part of the team has been moved.
Oh, that's right. I see that. TD and KG are over in the corner now.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Well, because they were working.
Did a little spring training.
No. Engineering was in here working on something.
Well, at least, last time Ken Griffey Jr. was moved, he completely disappeared.
Well, he looks a little flat right now. Not entirely.
Were you on the show yet when the saga of Cardboard Ken took place a while back?
Not when the actual kidnapping took place, but I heard about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And the miraculous rescue.
Yeah.
That happened afterwards.
So another show.
See, I would have just went down there and got it.
Well, so here's what happened.
I would have demanded, open the door now. I'm here for Ken.
Here's the problem. Another show based out of this building stole our life-size cardboard cutout of Ken Griffey Jr. And if you know me, you know that Ken Griffey Jr. is my favorite baseball player of all time. And someone taking over that spot it's almost heresy. Like, KGJ is the coolest guy to ever play baseball. I wanted to be him growing up. I want to be him now, right? So the cardboard cutout life-size Ken Griffey Jr. is my favorite thing in this office. And we got some good stuff between Lonzo and I's office. In this office, we got some cool stuff. In fact, I got a whole box of stuff that I brought from the house. Since I was told the other day that I'm here for at least 2 more years, I was like, well, it's been 2 years. I might as well decorate the office a little bit. So I brought in a big Rubbermaid container full of stuff to hang up. And I've got some great sports memorabilia. I've got a set of Roy Jones Jr. signed boxing gloves. I've got an autographed picture personalized from Kevin Green, the former Panther.
Ooh.
I've got one from Lynn Swann, the great Pittsburgh Steeler. I've got one from Archie Manning, the New Orleans Saints great. Got a lot of good stuff. Including
Ohio State great.
Fair enough. Including a framed Ken Griffey Jr. picture. However, my favorite thing is the Ken Griffey Jr. life-size cardboard cutout. So about 1.5 years ago, I came into the room and I noticed something was off, and that is when I realized that Cardboard Ken was missing. And I had no clue where. Now, I usually pop into the office, between 9 and 10. Some days a little earlier, some days a little later. I love radio. It's fluid, right? It depends on client meetings. It depends on how late I was up the night before. We had conference basketball tournaments, Alonzo, that tipped off at 11:30 last night. And I'm up watching them.
That's early for you, though.
Yo, yeah, that's settled down time for me. So anyway, I realize Cardboard Ken is missing, and I go on a cardboard manhunt around the studio, and I can't find Ken anywhere. So I go to Diesel, and I'm like, Diesel's on the show at the time, and I said, Diesel, where's Ken? And he said, I do not know, but I have a sneaky suspicion. And he told me that it was more than likely that another show that originates out of this building had taken him.
Why do you not want to there's no accusations to be made because you know for sure. Afraid of them? I'm not afraid of them.
Afraid of them, like physically, like they'll kick down the door, beat me up. No,
Although
not at all.
one of them's pretty large. I
Not
think
at
if he
all.
got a hold of you, it'd probably
All
be.
three of them are dudes.
Yeah, but one of them in particular, if he gets a hold of you, you're probably not going to get
I
loose.
think I'll be all right. I think I'll be all right. And in fairness, two of them, I'm buddies with. Like we talk wrestling all the time. In fact, I was tweeting wrestling with one of them last night.
Yeah, I know we're going to bring that up later.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So anyway,
That's the one I was talking about if he got a hold
I
of
know
you.
who it was. So Diesel says Cardboard Ken is probably in their office. Well, I walked my happy little butt on down there about 11:30 a.m. Well, the problem is they do a very early morning show. And by the time that I got down there, they were all gone and the door was locked, and I do not have a master key. And I did not want to go to the big boss and be like, they stole my Ken Griffey Jr.
You know, I wish you would have talked to me because I know
Yes,
where.
you do?
No, I don't have a
You know where
master
one
key,
is.
but I know where one
Well,
is. Yes, I do.
now. Now I know where it is.
Do you?
But I
Okay.
did not at the time.
Yeah. It's for
Okay.
in case people get locked out of their office, which happens on occasion.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I know where it is now because I got locked
You needed
locked
it,
out of my
yeah.
office one time. So anyway, I go in the air and I'm like, hey, I'm getting Kane back. Cardboard Ken's coming home. But I can't just do it automatically because it's gonna be noticeable. And here's what I don't want, and the same reason I won't mention the show. I don't want to start a prank war with them for two reasons.
But see, I do. You're just afraid of the jump scares, and I'm not.
Nope.
And I'm ready to go. And they're probably listening right now. Let's do this.
Not one of the reasons. There are two reasons I don't want to start a prank war with them. The first is, I'm going to say this. It's not meant to be disrespectful, though some people take it that way. They're a little bit shock jockey, which means they go above and beyond in order to get reaction, which is why they have such a phenomenal
Which
show.
is so good you've never been accused of such.
Never. I've never been called a shock jock in my career, except for
How many was that?
all
Like
those times.
2 weeks ago or
Yeah.
something like that? Yeah.
So first off, they're a little shock jockey, which means that their pranks are not going to be like, haha, got him with a whoopee cushion, right?
Yeah.
Their
There
pranks are
might
gonna
there,
be way worse.
there might- but yeah.
The second reason, Lonzo, the second reason is because I, as your son so eloquently pointed out on Upstate Pulse last Saturday when I filled in, I am competitive to an unhealthy level. Cameron narrated when I missed picking up a spare in a bowling game and launched my hat Spurrier style back at the ball return because the other option was to hit something.
Well, multiple times. Let's not act
Yeah.
like it only happened once.
So I don't want to get in a prank war with those guys because A, I feel like their pranks are going to be extreme, and B, once that starts, because I am so competitive and I don't want to lose, we will escalate into pranks that get HR involved at some point, right?
Nobody knows who they are right now. HR, we're good. Come on.
So about 3 months later, I was walking by and their door was open. And I saw against the far wall of a 3-person office, right? They got a big office, 3-person office. On the far side of the 3-person office was Cardboard Ken. But the insult, Lonzo, came from the fact that they had put a scream mask over his face and begun draping like boas and stuff over his shoulders. So they didn't even take Ken to pay homage to the coolest baseball player of all time. They took him as a prop rack for their Halloween mask and costume.
They thought they were hiding him. Maybe that's. They'll never figure
hope
this
not.
out.
I hope not. So I knew that 2 of them were still in the building. I came in early after I figured out that's where it definitely was. I came in early. I got here about 8 a.m. I just kind of staked out the office. Right across the hall, there's a conference room, right? There's a conference room, and from that conference room, you can peek through the door and down and see the door of their office, and you can see a little bit inside of it. So they were coming and going up into the hallway. I had to wait till both of the 2 that were in the office cleared out. The problem was they went in different directions, and there's only 2 ways out of there, which means that there was one down hallway A, B. I had to sneak in.
All right, there's only one of them that moves fairly fast.
The problem,
The other ones, they I'm not going to say they lumber. They just take their time.
Sure.
So you would have had plenty of time
was-
to get in and
I
out.
was not concerned about confrontation at the moment. I wanted to take Ken back without them knowing who or when he was taken.
Ah,
So I wait till they both split. I duck into the office. First, I have to remove all of the Halloween props from Ken Griffey Jr. because I don't want to take anything that's not mine, unlike them. So I take off the mask, I take off the bows, the beads, whatever. Then I have to lift Ken because they've got him propped against the wall and a desk placed in front of him, right? Because it's a little piece of cardboard. I have to lift him from behind the desk, which requires me, Lonzo, to pull the desk off the wall a little bit. The problem is they have a rack full of Funko Pops right in front of Ken. I pull the desk forward, though, and about 12 of those Funko Pops.
Yeah, when they get to falling, we well know.
Oh, it's dominoes.
Yeah, it is.
So now, not only A, have I failed my James Bond mission by exploding a rack full of Funko Pops, but B, I have done so in a way that has sent an echo cascading down the hallways to who knows how far in the studio, and not knowing if they're coming down the hall, knowing exactly what that sound is, because if you've heard a rack of Funko Pops fall, you know what it sounds like, and B, where it originated. So now, not only that, I have to put all the Funko Pops back on the stand because I'm not going to be a jerk and just leave a mess. So now I'm stealth hurrying, putting Funkos. I get Ken, I bring him back down the hallway, and I sit him, Lonzo, behind this little table over in the studio. But then I went to my office and I grabbed like a couple of boxes and stacks of papers and stuff and put them in front of Ken to hide him, right? About 2 days later, one of the hosts sees me in the hallway and he's like, hey, did you steal Ken back from us? You know, finders keepers, right? And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about. Ken made his triumphant return. And I wait for the day that something else goes missing and this war escalates between us and that show.
I dare them to try it again.
Why would you do that?
Because you and I are now a team. And see, I would have done things a little bit different than you. I just happen to know there's a life-size Harry Connick Jr. in the building because it managed to make its way into a lot of people's rooms. I'm pretty sure I know where it is. What I would have done is I would have replaced Ken Griffey with Harry Connick Jr., put the mask back on, put the boas back on to see how long it took them to notice. Yes.
Replace the coolest baseball player with the coolest musician of all time.
Absolutely.
All right.
Could they handle that kind of cool in the room, though? I don't know.
The point is, I do not want to get into an escalating war of pranks with that show. They are the only show in this building that I don't want that to happen with because I'm afraid of where it would go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's late to the first segment, but I don't care. Let's do that little thing we do, shall we?
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Did you hear that deep breath in that I just accidentally took right in front of the mic?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I just figured you just saw what someone just said about you on Twitter.
Oh,
So-
God. Oh, God. I did not.
Someone you might, live with.
Oh, even better. Even better. Well, I wasn't tagged in it, so I'm sure this is going to go great.
I was. So there's that.
Cool. Cool.
Hey, we're doing the
My own girlfriend said, to Lonzo and not me. This is a really long-winded way of him saying he's just scared of them. That is not what I said. What I said is I will not lose a prank war, and I'm afraid with a room full of shock jocks that prank war would escalate to the point that HR gets involved, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
I've seen prank wars happen in this building before. You got a long way to go to get to that point because that room gets away with a lot, and you're sitting with the Golden Boy. So we're good, man. We're good.
Item number 1 on the lunch breakdown. We're going to run through these real quick because all 3 of these are going to be what's the thing that we do? 3 or 4 of an hour? Segments. That's the word I'm looking for.
You're making it sound like you're afraid now. You really are. It's there's kind of a
Blew that.
Yeah, you did. There's
Blew
kind of
that.
kind of a tremble there, and you know what? I will be brave for the both of us.
The segment not making it into our submission for another trophy effort. Item number 1 on the lunch breakdown. This is really interesting. Yesterday, Major League Baseball put forward an offer back toward the Players Association. One of the big sticking points, one of the few big sticking points that seem to remain between the two, is an international players draft. MLB wants a separate draft for international players. The baseball players do not, for a variety of reasons, and we'll get into those in the segment coming up in just a little while. But the players don't. Major League Baseball does. Major League Baseball put forward yesterday afternoon a compromise on the international draft. Major League Baseball put forward an offer that they would spend the season working on the concept of an international draft. And if it did not work out, that qualifying offers and free agent compensation will be reinstalled at the end of the year. But if they could work out over the course of the year a global draft that everybody was happy with, they'd run with it. Baseball said no. The players said no, but we'll go table it and come back and work on it. Well, yesterday there was a 6 p.m. deadline to finish their negotiations before more games got canceled. Just after 6 p.m., just a few minutes after 6 p.m., the Players Association came back to Major League Baseball and put an offer on the table. They'd spend the season working on a world draft, and if it didn't work out, qualifying offers and free agent compensation would be reinstalled at the year's end. It was exactly what baseball had proposed a handful of hours before. It came about an hour after the 6 p.m. deadline. They came back with the exact same proposal that Major League Baseball had made them earlier in the day, down to the tail. And Major League Baseball said no and canceled another week of games, pushing opening day back to April 14th now. You know, there's compromise, there's negotiating, and then there's just sitting on your high horse for the sake of sitting on it, right? You missed the deadline by 8 minutes, right? But we are agreeing to what you asked. Yeah, boy, you should have agreed to it earlier. You canceled. Dumb. Now, a little bit of breaking. Actually, you know what? This is breaking news, technically, because it happened about, 30 minutes before we came on the air. I'm going to call it breaking news. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and qualify it as breaking news. That is not the breaking news sounder. Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. There it is. Jeff Passan tweeted out about half an hour before we came on the air, ladies and gentlemen, that Major League Baseball and the Players Association have now reached an agreement on the international draft. That is one of the last standing topics that is currently remaining out there in the baseball world to be discussed. Jeff Passan says they have reached an agreement. They have reached a deal. He tweeted out again just about a tick under an hour ago, quote, "There is an agreement on the international draft," a source tells ESPN. Does that mean there is? I don't know. We're going to find out. I don't know that is fact. I saw earlier that it may not be, but we don't know. We're going to keep an eye on it, okay? Whether this comes to be something, whether this is the check mark that needs to get ticked to move forward with these negotiations, I don't think we know yet. We'll keep an eye on that and see if that makes progress. Let's do this because I started this segment significantly later than I intended to. Let's take a break. We'll come back to item number 2. Conference basketball tournaments underway, ladies and gentlemen. And the board is filling up with teams that have ticked the box that says they're going dancing. I'll tell you who's in, who's out right now, and what it means for the handful of teams that are on the bubble, including a game South Carolina team that starts the SEC tournament tonight and a Clemson team that lost a heartbreaker last night to Virginia Tech. A buzzer beater from the Hokies sent the Tigers home probably for the season. NIT notwithstanding. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
I'm blaming that one on the mouse, by the way. So I'm blaming that mistake on the mouse. I put it there, I thought. This mouse goes to sleep. Just another beautiful day here at Odyssey of Greenville or upstate or whatever we call it. It was called Intercom for decades. It's still a difficulty for me.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Granger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations, so you get the product you're looking for.
No, Tayshaun, I agree with Charles Barkley. They shouldn't show them on TV anymore. At least not right now.
So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem. Like me.
You all right?
I'm so glad the stream's on
You okay? Yeah, I
so
mean,
that people can see me miss a chair.
and you know what? You could just rewind it back and watch it over
yeah.
and over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Hey, stream. Good to see everybody. Tayshaun, what's up, fellas? Steven, welcome in.
You know, it's not about what you almost did. It's how you caught yourself and
Saved
it
it.
didn't happen.
Saved it.
Right, right. Those chairs are not good.
No.
They're not. Which is why I'm using a chair that's like 30 years old because it's a lot more stable. I don't care if the wheels don't work. I don't move that much anyway. So
See, I spin a lot. I got to have a chair that's a free spinning chair.
these chairs used to be spinnable. Now I'm not so sure it's a good idea. When these chairs were first purchased, not these, there were lots of chair races down the hallway. A lot of fun to watch. Never got to participate though. Guys, just don't tell Keegan because you don't know what he'll do with it if he clips the video. So make sure that Keegan does not know about this. No one tell Keegan. See, it would have been better
Can
if
we
you,
put together a blooper reel? There's been one today.
you should have committed to it and just went down. And then you could have did part of the show from in the floor if the mic would go down that far. Let's go live to the floor where Rob Brown is in traction.
I did, gotta be 10 years ago now. About 10 years ago when I was working for my old sports station, we did a couple of shows as a fundraiser for animal rescue.
Mhm.
And I did 24 hours inside of a dog pen at the animal rescue, including both shows sitting on the floor. Miserable.
That's cool.
Why should you watch the Facebook stream, you ask? Lonzo can answer that.
Dude, I'm not gonna. I wasn't gonna.
Sorry, I'll listen.
So Rob missed a chair. I mean, it happens to everybody. You come in, you misjudge. He didn't have his glasses on. Excuses for him. These chairs are kind of weird and springy. So if you don't catch the right way, they tend to go bye-bye.
Yeah. I went to sit down. All on the stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. I went to sit down during the break. And you know how sometimes you just come up short and the top of your butt hits the very edge of the chair? Well, I did that. This chair, very rolly. And it decided to try to make a great escape from the gigantic behind of one Rob Brown. The chair went skedaddling, and your boy almost ended up doing the rest of the show broadcasting live from the floor.
But, luckily,
I have the grace and agility of
two great things happened. I saw it. And the second thing is, so did everybody else. If you go to ESPN Upstate's Facebook page, you could have seen it, and you could go back and check it out. It was about 5 minutes ago. Bookmark it. Watch it over and over again. When you're feeling down and you don't feel like you're the most agile person in the world, and you can go back and you can watch Rob, and you'll feel so much better.
All right, let's see where we sit right now as our March Madness bracket continues to fill itself out with automatic qualifiers, and then we'll see how many at-large bids are available. Here are the teams that we know are in so far by way of winning conferences. Gonzaga is in. They, with a 26-3 record, will likely be going in as the number 1 overall seed. That is all but done. Arizona has ticked the box out of the Pac-12. They are likely locked into the number 3 overall seed. Baylor at 26-5 is likely a 1 seed, but they have not clinched the Big 12 yet. They could potentially fall down to a 2 seed, but they should be fine. And right now, Auburn is in. That is a lock. There is no way for the 27-4 Tigers not to make the tournament. The question is, will they or Kentucky win the SEC tournament, and what the results there how the results there will impact the seeding of those 2 teams. Kansas has locked in a spot. Duke is in, and Duke is still a potential for a number 1 seed. They currently, as the number 1 overall seed in the ACC tournament, lead the Syracuse Orange 24-13. Syracuse, of course, made this game yesterday by blowing out Florida State by a basket short of 40. Yeesh. We're going to talk about that in a minute, because Syracuse is also playing without one of their best players, Buddy Boeheim, today, because Buddy Boeheim lost his mind in that game, swung on and hit a player. And Jim Boeheim, which doesn't surprise me, not only is Buddy's coach, but he's Buddy's dad as well, made a bunch of BS excuses for him. And we're going to talk about that coming up in just a little while from right now. Teams that we know are in right now that have definitely ticked the box. Illinois is in. They are the 1 seed in the Big Ten. Providence is in. They won the Big East. Out of the AAC, Houston is in. They do not have any quadrant 1 wins this season, so they likely will be at best a 5 seed. Ticking the box again, Murray State wins the Ohio Valley Conference. They are in and had a really good run. We'll see if they can climb up above like a 7-8 seed. Boise State, by winning the Mountain West Conference, is in. They are locked. Loyola of Chicago, the sisters are going dancing again as they win the Mountain Valley Conference. They hold off Drake and tick the box. Here are the rest of the AQs by winning some of their conferences. Davidson out of the A10 is in. North Texas out of Conference USA. Vermont out of the America East Conference. The MAC, represented by Toledo. South Dakota State out of the Summit Conference is in. Chattanooga, of course, by defeating Furman in an absolute heartbreaker for the Paladins, is in, representing the Southern Conference. The WAC will be represented by New Mexico State. Montana State represents the Big Sky. Princeton, the winners of the Ivy League, are in. Colgate wins the Patriot Conference. They beat Navy in a good one at the house. Colgate, the Red Raiders, they are in. Long Beach State is in out of the Big West. Georgia State from the Sun Belt is in. Longwood from the Big South. Delaware from the CAA. St. Peter's from the MAAC. Jacksonville State represents the Atlantic Sun Conference. The MEAC sends Norfolk State. Wright State represents the Horizon Conference. The NEC sends Bryant. Nichols wins the Southland Conference. And the SWAC, represented by Alcorn State, Those are the definite qualifiers. The teams that they're going. The teams that are going, they have not clinched a definite ticket yet by winning conference tournaments, but they're in. We told you about Baylor. They're in. Kentucky is in. Auburn is going to go as well. Wisconsin out of the Big Ten is good despite a weird loss to Nebraska. But Wisconsin is in. Tennessee, Purdue, Villanova likely all in. Texas Tech, UCLA probably in. I would say Texas is likely in after Houston lost and gave them a little bit of breathing room. Arkansas is going to go in and probably as a 4 seed, I would think. That's a good year for the Razorbacks at 24-7. UConn, Iowa, Seton Hall, St. Mary's, Alabama, LSU, USC, Ohio State, Marquette, Colorado State, North Carolina, all in, I think. Everybody below that, we start talking bubbles. I'd say sturdy bubbles for a handful of guys after that. But those are the ones I feel fine saying are in. By the way, Syracuse making a run at Duke here. Now down only 3. Duke had them down 24-12 or 24-13 last I looked. Now it's 24-21, and Mike Krzyzewski is not a happy camper.
Heading to the line on a foul and a 3-point attempt.
Oh, the old 4-point play. Mike Krzyzewski's arguing that the Syracuse player launched himself into the Duke defender to draw the foul. Remember, the NBA, they don't do that anymore.
Hey, what a size difference between Duke and Syracuse, man.
Well, that's why the loss of Buddy Boeheim is so big. You know what? Let's do this, Lonzo. Let's talk about that when we come back. When we come back, let's talk about what happened with Buddy Boeheim in the Florida State game last night. He is out for this game against Duke, which is a absolute game-changing loss for the Orange. No doubt about that. And Jim Boeheim's response to it, because I got some chuckles out of it. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
The size difference is like Hoosiers, man.
Yeah.
It's just so obvious.
If you need to hire, then you need Indeed. The all-in-one hiring platform helps you schedule and conduct video interviews right from your employer dashboard. Finding your next great hire has never been more streamlined. Visit Indeed.com/credit. If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop and listen. You can get real lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Charlie James, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for your aching knees, hips, shoulder, lower back.
They show Buddy like after every.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He keeps.
Well, because it's a story people are going to pay attention to.
Okay, Tayshaun. I am now, I think, level 51 or something like that.
QC Kinetics.
Serene's Pharmacy can't keep up with allergy season. They need certified technicians to alleviate the headache.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry for the wait. Well, how did you change it? I need some help.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description.
Cameron played with me last night, and we went through the castle and beat the main boss of the castle. Not the first guy. Margit's not the first guy. We did it the first time and we lost because there's a summon that you can get that I didn't know about, but I didn't find her in the castle. Once you talk to her, then she shows up by the entrance, and then you can bring her in with you. And that was the difference. I just needed one more distraction. Because even though I'm a tank, I would just let the main guy go after whoever's with me and then come up behind him and hit him. Just because it just works out better that way.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast. Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.
I also found out that just because a weapon says it won't work, it will still work. You can still equip it. It will do less damage. So I got one of the better staffs in the game, even though I'm not really magic, but I can still do enough magic to distract or to do a little bit of damage, which helps me save arrows.
I'm gonna have to play cheap and watch a bunch of YouTube videos about how to start building my magic because
again, in this game, you can see all the tips and everything. You still actually have to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm usually against that, but I'm like, nah, let me find everything out I can find.
There is a guy, this is just for my own lulz, but there is a guy who texts the text line every day who is very angry that you guys run a commercial in Spanish. Like outraged.
It's on the stream.
Is it?
Yeah, I've heard it. I thought it was kind of weird too. We don't control what's on the stream anymore. Odyssey as a company does.
Every day it's, if you guys don't stop airing this commercial in Spanish, I'll never come back. And then every day it's, if you guys don't stop airing this commercial in Spanish, I'll never come back.
Yeah, not that we wouldn't, but we don't have any control over that. I used to have to put the fill stuff into a thing called Triton. The company took over that. So
I don't mean to put any Duke fans into an anxiety attack here, but the Syracuse Orange now lead this game 31-30. Sans Buddy Boeheim. Let's make that 33-30. Sans Buddy Boeheim, the Orange, are winning this game, and Mike Krzyzewski's just like, guys, what? You saw that face? Beautiful.
the rallying cry is Buddy.
Yeah, I guess so. Remember the Boeheim. Okay, so yesterday, Syracuse, I was going to say played Florida State, but I think it's more practiced against Florida State for the better part of a basketball game. Yesterday, Buddy Boeheim got into it with one of the players for Florida State. Wyatt Wilkes was an FSU guard after a basket in which Wilkes had Boeheim very effectively blocked out. Buddy Boeheim turned and could very clearly be seen on a camera that was, 5 feet away, throwing a gut shot into the stomach of Wyatt Wilkes. Lonzo, you're rolling your eyes. Do you disagree that that was an intentional punch?
It was definitely an intentional
Okay.
punch, but it was not that hard. Dude acted like he just got hit by Tyson or something going down and had to have help and everything. Come on. I mean, that kid is in shape. Yeah, he hit him. Yeah, he wasn't expecting it, but it wasn't like it was a groin shot or anything. It wasn't a kidney shot. I think this is being overplayed to a certain degree. Should he have thrown a punch? No. Should he be playing today? Absolutely not. He should not be. But I think they're making a bigger deal out of it than they should.
We can't all be as tough as Lonzo.
I mean, Rob, I think there's no one in this building would have went down for as long as that guy did when he got punched, if you want to call it a punch.
So Wyatt Wilkes goes to the ground after taking a gut shot, all right? Whether or not he was going for the Oscar or not is up for debate.
If you are on his team, you are making fun of him.
No, I'm not, because you know why? He got me the bat. Well, actually, they didn't call anything. It would have got me the
Yeah,
basketball.
you're making fun of him. Every chance you get, watch out. Just act like you're throwing a little punch at him. See if you can make him cry.
So Boeheim, after Syracuse went on to blow out FSU 96-57 to advance in the tourney, after Boeheim scored 14, Wilkes had just a couple. Syracuse.com reported that ESPN studio crew said the ACC was going to review Boeheim's punch and that he could be suspended. Well, a couple hours after the game, it was announced by the ACC, reported by John Rothstein, that they had suspended Buddy Boeheim for today's ACC tournament game per release. Now, Boeheim was not called for a foul on the punch. Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim admitted afterwards that it should have been a flagrant foul. The color and play-by-play guys that were doing the game both said, yeah, that was intentional. That was intentional. Well, after the game was over, and you know, I tried to give credit to colleagues of mine in this job when they do something that I think is exceptional. Jim Boeheim was called to the floor because, remember, Buddy is not only his player, it's his son. Clip number 1, if you don't mind, Lonzo. After everybody in the world saw that and knew that it was intentional, right? Like, there's no way that was anything but intentional. He turned, he brought the hammer fist out to the side and around on Wyatt Wilkes and caught him in the ribs. You can argue it wasn't much of a shot, but it certainly was intentional, all right? Maybe not a good shot, but an intentional one. And a reporter called Jim Boeheim out and said, what about the punch? And Boeheim got very defensive. Here's what he said.
It wasn't much of a. It wasn't a. It was like.
Coach, I'm watching it right here. It's on ESPN and it's being shared all over social media. He punched him in the stomach. It wasn't inadvertent. It would have been a
Whatever
flagrant
you
foul.
say. Whatever you say. Well, good. You say it. I just gave you my version of what I saw. Okay.
We go to our next question.
Can we disagree? Or do I have to? I don't have to agree with you, right? Oh, okay. No, absolutely. Nobody ever does in this room. Nobody in this room ever does. That's okay.
So
Is he going to get fined for saying that because you can't come at the media?
I
like
don't think
that?
so. You can come at the media. You can't come at the referees.
Referees, okay.
And he didn't
All right.
come after the referees. He just said it wasn't a punch, which it was. Again, not a good one, but it was.
I wouldn't call that a punch. It was,
I mean, it was a
it's-
punch.
It was akin to a slap fight. I mean, it was so wimpy. I mean, if you're going to get all this media play out of something, double them. I mean,
I love that Lonzo's biggest problem with this was that he didn't punch hard enough.
he didn't. He didn't. This guy. I mean, if this was it was equivalent of a soccer flop. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Where's the ambulance?
So Jim Boeheim is wrong. This reporter calls him out. The ACC suspends him, and Lonzo's takeaway is he didn't hit him hard enough. All right.
If you are going to foul and you are going to get in trouble for it, you're going to do something better than that, aren't you? I am.
So that reporter says, Coach, he punched him. Bam's like, no, he didn't. It's like, bro, I'm watching it right now. Okay, well, he didn't. No, it's literally on ESPN right this second. No, he didn't.
Is this a punch though? When you come in, I think a punch is more this. It's not this. I know you're saying hammer fist, but hammer fist has to come down. This is not really. I don't know what that is. That's I
Ladies and
don't.
gentlemen, stay tuned.
That's patting.
Lonzo and I have a full breakdown of the definition between punch, hammer fist, and whatever Buddy Boeheim did was. That's the whole segment at 2:20. First off, kudos to that reporter for calling Boeheim to the floor, right? Because I've made this point many, many times in my career. Disagreeing with people is fine. Believing in your own facts that aren't reality is not, right? If I was to say to Lonzo, this can is red. And Lonzo looks and goes, this can's white, right? And I go,
with some silver on it. yeah,
right,
it's-
but over what? You stop it.
what?
This can is white and silver.
Okay, I'm just trying to be accurate.
If I said this can is red and blue, and Lonzo said, no, that can's white and silver, and I went, no, agree to disagree.
This could be one of those cases that what color is the dress thing, and some people saw one color and some. I could stop.
I'm gonna get through this point if it kills me. If I say this can's red and blue when this can's white and silver, Lonzo says this can's white and silver, and I go, we agree to disagree. I am wrong. All right. I understand what Jim Boeheim's doing. It's not only his player, but it's his son. And if Syracuse loses today at 16-16 and 9-11, they may not make the NIT. That may have been the very last game of Buddy Boeheim's pretty good career.
By the
for
way,
the Orange.
it's classic deflection. You throw in some anger in there, and then suddenly the story isn't about the punch or what they're calling a punch. The story's about the fact that Boeheim is going at a reporter. and he's taking the heat, trying to take the heat off of his player and his son.
Sure. And that's dumb and bad. Like,
That's
that's
it.
my point.
It's a father thing. I mean, you do
I
that
get that.
sometimes.
I get that. I understand that. I'm sure my dad did that for me multiple times when I was a kid. Doesn't mean you're not going to get called out on it. And in a situation where you've got one player punching another player, of course the ACC is going to step in and not let that happen, right? Of course they are. Let me do this. Let me take a break. And here's why. Because Jay Bilas of ESPN has gotten involved as well. He put up a video last night on Twitter, on social media, where he argued that the suspension was no bueno. I've got that audio, and I want to play a little fun game with it. Because he's wrong, too. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm Rob, he's Lonzo. This is ESPN Upstate. Say about my friends at Harley Davidson of Greenville, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, spring's around the corner. We're going through fake spring, right? We're going through fake spring. We got a cold weekend upcoming, but after fake spring comes third winter, and after third winter comes real spring. And when real spring gets here, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, you are going to see Rob Brown rolling up and down the highways, byways, flyways, and skyways of the upstate of South Carolina on my motocicleta. And you're going to go, man, that looks awesome, right? I'm going to start posting pictures from up on top of the Blue Ridge. I'm going to start posting pictures from Issaquah Falls. I'm going to start posting pictures when I take the bike down to Clemson for a little early summer baseball. When I take it over to South Carolina and go to Columbia for a spring football game. You guys are going to go, dang, it looks like Rob's having a good time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can do the same thing, and it's never been easier than it is
It looks a little different for everyone. For some, it's mom and dad. For others, roommates who feel like home.
So I'm watching Critical Role. I've finally made it to episode 100, which means I've spent 400-ish hours watching that show. And John Heder is guest starring. So Napoleon Dynamite is playing Critical Role. and he's doing it. He's playing a half work in Napoleon Dynamite's voice, and it's hilarious.
Oh, I bet. Tayshaun got where I was going as far as the dress thing.
Yeah.
It's a good
call.
I mean,
Except for this is pretty clear cut.
except for you're trying to.
The dress thing makes sense, and like there's a scientific reason why people see different.
What I'm saying is, did he throw a? I guess you have to classify it as a punch. Absolutely. Did the other guy over dramatize it to the point where it's getting so? And if this is another player and not Boeheim's son, is it getting as much play as it's getting?
I would say it probably still is, but
I don't
Boeheim
think so.
made it worse with the press conference, right? If Boeheim would have gone, hey, he made a mistake and he's got a consequence to pay for it, it'd have been the end of it.
What Boeheim wants to say, dude, you as a wimpy reporter would not have went down with that punch. That's what he wants to say.
That's fine. You still throw a punch. If I throw a punch at your chin, but I miss, are you going to go, oh, well, he missed? No, you're going to hit me back.
Well,
You're going to take that
no,
as
I
a-
can't hit you back because you didn't hit me in the first place.
Somebody swings at me and they miss, that's on them.
I just want to say, unless you sneak me, man, I'm wiry. Come at me. I know you got those Roy Jones moves, but, you know,
I can work a speed bag. I can work a speed bag.
I'm street tough.
Street tough. My teachers threw desk at me. I'll never forget that.
I would say his name. He's probably dead now. His name was Trentis. That was his last
Trentis?
name. Yes. Mr.
Oh, yeah, that was his
Trentis.
first- oh, okay.
Yeah.
His first name was Trent.
Yeah, I don't know what his
That's probably
first
why he
name
grew up
is.
Throwing desk at people.
Yeah, well, that's kind of light compared to other things that happen. But, you know, when it's happening to you, you think it's normal. This must happen everywhere. I'm sure this is happening at the Catholic school down the street. I mean, you know.
Welcome to Ohio, the desk throwing state. I'm going to go to clip 3 here. You probably guessed that already, but
Yes, I did.
I'll preface this as I do when I have conversations where I disagree with somebody. With I like Jay Billis. I think Jay Billis does a good job.
Yeah, I can't stand him.
I like Jay Billis.
Because
think he's all
when
right.
I talked to him on the phone, he kind of, it's the famous when, hey, Mark Ryan told me to get, huh?
I like Jay Billis on television. I don't know him personally.
I see. Anyway, you know, it's,
All right.
my personal experience is he's not a nice guy.
All right,
Could have been
Lonzo,
a bad day.
I'm going to play a little game here. I'm going to play this audio, but I want you to do me a favor if you don't mind. I want you to keep that finger on the pause play button because I'm going to play a game called Hold Up. All right, where I'm going to play this bit. It's about 2 minutes long from Billis. Okay. I'm going to play this bit. But whenever Billis says something that I think he's wrong about, I'm going to say, hold up. We're going to push pause, and then I'm going to address it, and we'll see how much we can get through before the end of the segment. So here's what Billis said when he found out that the ACC suspended Buddy Boeheim for this game against Duke.
The suspension of Syracuse's Buddy Boeheim for what happened in the Florida State game is just wrong. You know, the ACC came in after the fact and decided to suspend Buddy Boeheim, and it's disproportionate to the offense.
All right, hold up. No, he punched a dude, right? The severity of the punch is irrelevant. As I asked Lonzo a second ago, if I take a swing at Lonzo and try to hit him in the jaw and I miss, is Lonzo going to dismiss that and go, oh, well, he missed. No big deal, right? No. He's going to crank me back Ohio style, all right?
Or I'm going to call the police.
Yeah, but you're going to do something.
Yeah.
He punched him. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the severity. All right, let's keep going.
Rules are rules, and the rules of the game indicate that if play started after the fact and the action could not be reviewed, that's final.
All right, hold on. Yes, rules are rules. Rules are rules. And I'm pretty sure there's a rule that says you can't punch a dude, right? The officials missed it, right? This isn't a traveling call. This is, albeit a weak one, a direct act of violence towards another player. If they would have seen it happen in the game, he would have been ejected from the game or at least given a flagrant 2, right? But he probably would have been tossed from the game. So since they missed it, and this is past a basketball violation, this is a safety violation, they just moved the ejection to this game. Of course, it's the right thing to do. Let's keep going.
Was final. The referees could not review the play after play started again. They missed it, and that's fine. Now, the ACC could condemn the action and issue a reprimand, but suspending Buddy Boeheim for the next game against Duke is disproportionate to the offense.
All right, hold on.
And I think
they could have. I think they did condemn it, Jay. They suspended him. That's a pretty big condemnation, right? But again, if I throw a punch at Lonzo's chin and he goes to the boss and goes, hey, Rob just tried to punch me in the face. And the boss goes, I condemn that action, but make sure you produce his show tomorrow. Lonzo's going to be like, yo, hold up just a second. Wait a minute.
No, it's kind of a normal thing around here. So yeah.
No, it's not. Nobody is swinging at each other in the building. All right. Well, not often.
All right. They're threats and yeah, that's different.
All right. Give me a little bit more.
wrong. That effectively ends Buddy Boeheim's career. It affects the ACC tournament, and I don't think it's the right thing.
All right, hold up. I think that's the end of it anyway. Oh, it ends Buddy Boeheim's career. Probably should have thought about that before he punched somebody, right? If Lonzo and I are at a bar, because we go out on Saturdays, and I throw a punch at Lonzo in a bar and I get kicked out of the bar, is anybody going to go, yeah, he swung at the dude, but like, you just impacted his night of having a good time? No. You should have thought about that before you throw a punch, dude. Come on, Jay. You got to do better than this, man. I like your stuff, but you got to do better than this. He threw a punch at another player in no world or sport except boxing and MMA. Is that an acceptable course of action at all? Quick break. Hour number 2 just around the corner on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Look at Cuse coming out with the emotion at the end of the half.
Oh, they hit a 3 with the second left. Yeah.
My man sprinting the locker room. He's like, you ain't taking it from me.
Send Rashad a request.
Oh, that's right. I forgot it was Thursday. That's why you're in charge, Lonzo.
He signed a 2-year contract to remain with the Panthers. They've also agreed to a 1-year contract with linebacker Julian Stanford. He was scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent as well. Clemson baseball, they break a 1-1 tie with 2 runs late, and they end up defeating Michigan State by a 4-2 score. They go to 12-0 on the season, and now they get set for a weekend series, and they are set to play host to Northeastern. Game 1 coming up Friday late afternoon. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard Offsides with Mark Ryan?
Duke was favored by double digits. Not only does Duke lose the game, but it's Coach K's final game on Coach K court.
Hey, Rashad. I guess I gotta add you first. Hold on. You got it. All right, I still can't hear you. Look again, please.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
There you go. Hey, can you turn your mic up on your end a little? If you can't, that's fine.
I mean, I can.
Not getting a lot out of it on this end. So
how about now? Better?
It sounds a little bit louder. Yeah.
Hold on.
There's no way I can judge it entirely because I'm coming through a Q speaker right now, but.
All right. How about now? Better?
Yeah, whatever you got is good. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's up, big fella? How we feeling?
Same old, same old. Nothing's changed. We got a quarterback yet? No?
Not only do you not, but 2 of the ones you could have got is gone, my man.
Yep. That's how it is.
I watched your hit on Deshaun. We're going to talk about that for just a minute.
All right.
Yep.
We'll talk Jimmy G and we'll talk Malik probably. And then we'll get to some of the other stuff towards the end for whatever we got time for.
Yep.
Cool. It's Thursday. It's 1 o'clock. You know what that means. We head up to the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. Come on and raise up and welcome in one half of the Panther Nation podcast. He is the host of that show, which I demand that you go to YouTube and like and subscribe to. My dude, Rashad Beard, joining us here on the show. Rashad, what's up, fella? How we feeling?
Yes, sir. I'm feeling okay. All is well. What's up?
You know, I'm like, I don't even want to make the jokes anymore. Like when we started this segment a year ago, Rashad was always peppy and ready to roll.
Yeah, but keep this in mind. He is smiling. And
he is.
And if you want to see Rashad smiling, you should go to our social media.
Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Twitter.com/ESPN Upstate. Search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. Rashad is smiling in the way that you smile after the girl says, "Oh, I wish you'd have asked me to homecoming 2 weeks ago. I already have a date." You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've accepted reality, dude. Like this is where I am. I've accepted it, and this is kind of where we are. So you have no choice but to laugh. That's where I am.
So let's try. Let's try. All right. So we got a bunch of stuff laid out in front of us, Rashad.
Yep.
Russell Wilson is now a Denver Bronco. Not that you guys were necessarily in the mix for that. Aaron Rodgers is going to stay a Packer. Carson Wentz is now in DC as a Commander, which, to be honest, probably for the best for you guys. I didn't want you in on that deal. And we're kind of really getting down to there's just a handful of guys left. Jimmy Garoppolo's out there. Kirk Cousins is out there. Do you have a favorite option? Is there one guy that you go, that's the one that's left that I want? Or are you just kind of, Rashad, at a point where you're going, I'll take any date to homecoming I can get at this point?
Yeah, no, I don't want any of the quarterbacks available. I mean, so all things aside with Deshaun, that'd be great. Like everybody wants Deshaun, right? Like we all want Deshaun. If the legal situation gets cleared up, we would love to have Deshaun Watson. But you got to be willing to accept what comes with that. He is the best available quarterback. So if you're talking about wins and losses, he's the best option available. Again, there's a lot that comes along with that. I don't want to, I'm not here to kind of judge where he is. But that's the best option. If you can't get him, then I'm not down with Jimmy G. I'm not down with Kirk Cousins. I'm not down with any of these guys. Like those guys are all Band-Aid fixes. And there's two options. There's either you go after Deshaun, get your guy, or you go and you draft the guy. Again, with the draft, you have to consider it's a young quarterback. Does Matt Rule turn the reins over? It's complicated. It is very complicated. And it goes back to, we talked about, us having this wish list of quarterbacks, and Deshaun is on that wish list. He's the top of the list, right? But that is not necessarily reciprocated. So we have to be, we have to speak reality, right? We have to stay in tune with what's actually going to occur, and that he doesn't necessarily want to be here. So again, draft is where we got to go, man. That's you have to get your guy. You have to pin your guy in the draft and force him to come to Carolina, because that's pretty much the only way we're going to get a viable option at quarterback.
All right, so a couple of weeks ago, we found out that Carolina made a press for Deshaun, and basically Deshaun said no, right? Because despite all the baggage, he still has a no-trade clause, and he still pretty much is in control of what teams he would be able to be traded to, but also with the knowledge that his other option is to sit out another year, right? So tomorrow, Deshaun's got a big day. I know you talked about this a little bit on your stream. It basically comes down to two things are happening tomorrow. Number one, he is going to be deposed in the civil suits that he faces. At the same time, prosecutors take his case in front of a grand jury. The grand jury will decide whether or not Deshaun Watson will face criminal charges and potentially jail time if he is convicted. We don't know where either one of those two things are going. Let me phrase that. We know where the civil deposition is going to go. Nowhere, because Deshaun's going to plead the fifth to the whole time, as is his right. We don't know what the prosecutors have built as far as a case against Deshaun in front of a grand jury and whether or not they'll say criminal charges. If the grand jury says, yes, Deshaun Watson can go to court and face criminal charges where, if convicted, goes to jail, is he still the guy at that point? Because that's a possibility.
Yeah, it's over at that point. His career is likely over at that point. And I don't think he would be on anybody's radar. I think he has to get past this part. And again, I don't know the legalities. I don't know the process. I'm not a lawyer. So I'm just waiting like everybody else to kind of get this legal stuff cleared up. And once that stuff is cleared up, then you can make that determination. But yeah, if he gets, the criminal charges, it's a wrap. He's done. He's done in the NFL.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. All right, so let's turn our attention to the draft. I floated. I like Malik. I think Malik's got a nice, healthy mix of kind of halfway between Lamar and Russell Wilson, right? Like, I think he's got Russell's arm. I think he's got Lamar's moves. In fact, I read 2 or 3 different scouting reports on Malik from the Senior Bowl that described him as like a young Russell Wilson, right? Like Russell Wilson was 13 years ago or 14 years ago when he came into the league. That's my guy, Rashad. That's the one I want you guys to end up with for future success. And knowing that it's a foundational move, the question mark's going to be sitting there at 6. There's no guarantee nobody jumps up ahead of them, ahead of Carolina and takes Malik off the board. Is there any point, any level that you put Jimmy G ahead of? If you can't get Malik, would you take Jimmy G over Kenny Pickett? Would you take him over Matt Corral? Is there a line somewhere that Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think is the best option of veterans left on the table right now, is there a draft pick that you would say, I'll take Jimmy G before I take that guy?
I don't want Jimmy G on this roster. He's not it. He's not the guy. I think he was propped up by a good offensive coordinator. He had a really good he had the best scenario for any average quarterback to have, and he couldn't get it done. And so you think he's going to be able to come here and carry our rock like this? Like, given what he had in San Francisco, there's no way he's going to come here and be successful. I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. Given what you're going to have to pay him, no, he's not a guy I want. Like, if they're going to get a guy, again, you have to draft the guy. And Malik Willis is a great option, but I'm not taking anybody. If we're going to go that route, I'd probably take the two Kenny Pickett and Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis over Garoppolo. But at that point, you're not getting a guy. Like, you're just getting another Band-Aid. And I feel like you got to fix it. You got to fix the quarterback position. And right now, as you said earlier, our options are dwindling fast, and you have to want to come here. And nobody wants to seem to come here, so we have to get our guy in the draft. It looks like that's where I think it's going to go.
So I asked Rashad that question, and I don't know if y'all caught it. Rashad sounded like Rob Brown. If you ask me about Jimmy G, I'm going to strangle you through a microphone. I heard it.
Jimmy G is not that guy, man. I'm sorry. He's not. He's not the guy, man. He had the best scenario he could ever have in San Francisco and couldn't get it done. He had one of the best coaching schemes available to him with a solid run game, with a good defense. You're going from that to Carolina. Like, it's going to be far worse. The results will not be the same. We don't have a good offensive coordinator. We don't have the same level of defense. We don't have the supporting cast that San Francisco has. It's not it here. He would not be successful here.
All right, so let's talk about offensive line, right? Because that's the next spot in the draft that needs to be addressed. If you guys stay at 6 to pick a quarterback, which I think is your only option, although I did see earlier, Rashad, I want to get into this in a minute. I saw an NFL.com mock draft earlier, and I don't remember who did it, but it was up on NFL.com that had Carolina trading up to 2 to then take Evan Neal, the offensive tackle out of Alabama, but basically give away every other pick in this draft to move up 4 spots for a tackle. I thought that's ridiculous. I think you can still grab a quality tackle at 6, but in doing so, you really kind of screw yourself over as far as who's going to play quarterback. I kind of think y'all are out of options. I kind of think you don't have a choice but to take a quarterback at 6 now.
That's where it's boiling. That's really what it's coming down to at this point. That mock draft is ridiculous. Like, nobody's giving up. We don't have enough capital to do that anyway. We don't have any day 2 picks. We have a 4th, a couple of 5ths, a 6th, and a 7th. Like, we don't have enough capital. You're talking about giving up future capital, and then you just kind of snowball, and that doesn't make any sense. I do think there will be a viable tackle option. Obviously, not going to be Evan Neal or Ikem Ekwonu. Those are the 2 top guys. If one of those guys fall to 6, you take them immediately. But if not, you're in a situation where, look at the quarterback landscape. Like, all the pillars are falling down. And what's crazy is I don't see it as a coincidence. All the options are starting to drop after the combine, right? So these teams have gotten to look at the quarterbacks and they're saying, hey, I don't know if I want these guys. I'm going to go get a veteran. So maybe I'm reaching, but I think that has something to do with it as well. All the pillars are starting to fall. You know, you got Jimmy G out there who just came off of surgery too. That's another component with Jimmy G. There's a couple of Kirk Cousins. They're saying he's out there, but I don't. Those guys aren't it. I mean, you've got to fix the problem. And I feel like you're right. We're running out of options. I think we still need to consider trading back and still try to get either Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett. But those guys, that there's still teams out there that need quarterbacks. Seahawks got to fix their quarterback position. The Colts still have to. So there's a lot of everybody else needs quarterbacks too. So it's a balance, man. It's a tough situation for the Carolina Panthers to be in. Realistically, it's really tough.
All right, Rashad Beard, you are the general manager of the Carolina Panthers. It is draft day number 1. 6th pick, you're on the clock. Evan Neal is available, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. A lot of people think he might be the best. Kwame Kwanu, you just mentioned a second ago, at NC State, right there with him. Let's say Neal's available at 6, but so is Malik Willis. Both of them are sitting there for you at 6. Which one are you going with?
And I can't trade back one pick?
No, I'm going to make you pick right now.
Okay, so if I have to pick
quarterback or O-line, but you get whoever you want at either position.
Yeah, if I had to pick between those two, it's Evan Neal. Like, I'm taking Evan Neal all day, every day. If he happens to fall, he's too good. So I'm taking Evan Neal in that instance. And I feel like, you know, you just kind of got to roll with whoever quarterback you can get. Maybe you can get like a Desmond Ridder later. I don't know, but I would definitely pick Evan Neal if he happened to fall to 6. For
Fair
sure.
Enough. All right.
Easy.
Beard,
I would sprint to the podium to turn in that. That's how confident I am in that.
The Carolina Panthers are, the pick's in. All right, cool. Rashad Beard joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. All right, so the other news that has been, I mean, there was a lot of Panthers news since the last time we talked. Christian McCaffrey. So Scott Fitterer said, look, we have not put him on the trade block. We have not offered him, but we've taken a bunch of calls about him. Other teams are interested. Other teams are calling us about the guy, and we're taking those phone calls. Knowing the injury struggles, knowing that this offense is at a hard reset point, you're again the GM, Rashad. What's the asking price for Christian McCaffrey right now, knowing that you kind of got to sell him as able to stay back at 100% in order to get the biggest haul?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough situation because, again, like you said, he's hurt. So you have to take that in consideration of what my asking price would be high, but what I realistically get is a whole nother conversation. But I would try to get a first out of him. Honestly, that Bills offer that has been floating around, I would take that and just a straight up first round pick. I would do that because one, you get his contract off the books for future years, which is ridiculous. And then you get an additional first round pick, which will give you a 5th-year option on that. So you have 2 first round picks. One you could flip into multiple day 2 picks. So I would listen. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with building around Christian McCaffrey. It's not going to happen. So you need to get a quarterback in the building. And I feel like having 2 first-round picks will get you enough flexibility to get somebody viable in the building, right? So I'm going, give me a first-round pick, and I'm good with trading away Christian McCaffrey. We have there's good running backs in this class. I'll pick up another one, and it's the most replaceable position in the league. I know he's great. I know he's a good receiver. But so is Amir Abdullah. We just had him on the roster. He did pretty well as well. So I just feel like you can, with multiple running backs, you can replace a Christian McCaffrey. So first round pick, let's get it. I'm taking that all day.
All right. So a texter just texted me an idea. Let me present you with a situation. See if you pull the trigger on it as the GM of the Panthers. I am going to send McCaffrey out for a first rounder. All right. Let's say it's probably going to end up being a mid to late mid first rounder. I'm going to send McCaffrey out for the first out. I'm going to send the 6th overall pick to Green Bay for Jordan Love and still be able to grab an offensive lineman in the first round. You in or out?
You said Jordan Love and I get a first round pick?
Jordan Love for the 6th overall, but I'm sending McCaffrey out to bring a first rounder back in. So I got my quarterback and I got a first rounder to find an offensive lineman. You in or out?
Man, I'm not sold on Jordan Love, to be honest with you. I feel like, and I think given his contract situation, I believe he's got a situation coming up where he needs to get extended or not. I know it's in a couple of years, so I probably wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't flip our 6th pick for Jordan Love. I'm not doing that.
Okay. I mean, look, it's an unproven commodity. We know that. But we also know that it looks like Aaron Rodgers is there for 4 more years, so he's going to want to go somewhere. Right. I don't know. I think I take it, Rashad, right? Like, there's a reason the Packers made him not only a first-round draft pick, but a draft pick that they looked Aaron Rodgers in the face and said, we don't care what you want. This is the guy for us down the road. They had to see something there, and I get another first-round pick to put a left tackle in front of him. I think that might be the best option on the table, my man.
It may be. I'm not familiar with Jordan Love like that. I know I scouted him a little bit back in the day. I just don't know where he is right now, so I don't know if he's the answer. Could I watch some film to see if he's there potentially? But as of right now, without the full breadth of information, I can't go with that. I can't route with that.
Talking to Rashad Beard. He is the host of the Panther Nation podcast right here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. All right, a couple of other things I wanted to ask you about, Rashad. Also came out earlier this week that the Panthers had open trade talks with the New England Patriots about Robbie Anderson, one of the starting wide receivers, which is I kind of found myself right in the middle of that spectrum, because on one hand, we've seen the talent that Robbie Anderson has. On the other hand, he was kind of disappointing this year when they really needed him. Now, a lot of people said, hey, look, he's a guy that needs time to develop routes. The offensive line didn't give Darnold or Cam time for those Robbie Anderson routes to develop, but he also had a handful of drops towards the middle of the season in some big-time spots. If you can pick up some mid-round firepower for Robbie Anderson, but maybe not to the detriment of the wide receiver core, you pulling that trigger?
Yeah, I would flip Robbie Anderson for something if I could. Keep in mind with these guys, especially with him and C-Mac, those guys haven't restructured their deals yet. Those are two restructured candidates. Given the way their salaries are constructed, they haven't been restructured yet. So keep an eye on that. I really feel like those two guys are being floated, and they haven't restructured their deals yet because of that. So I think both of those guys could be potentially flipped. But yeah, I would flip Robbie Anderson in a heartbeat. I feel like, again, we have Terrace Marshall who didn't get much run. I feel like he's a guy that could get with Robbie Anderson out, could get some more time and show off. So I like that.
All right, last one. And this was more just because I looked at it this morning and it kind of hit me as a weird story out front. And then after I thought about it, I'm like, it's not a bad move. Reports are coming out now, and it is on social media, so grain of salt, maybe take the whole shaker of salt with this one, that David Tepper hired a private investigator to go down to Texas and to dig into the Deshaun Watson story as much as he could. Now, with that come reports that there are as many as 10 other NFL teams that are also doing the same digging on Deshaun Watson, so that if he does not face criminal charges after Friday's grand jury hearing, they'll make a move. But Tepper, if this is true, sending a PI down to Houston to get as much info as he can. Like, initially, I'm like, wow, this is insane. And then I thought, I don't want to say it shows desperation, but it certainly means that you are willing to go big on kind of a question mark move here.
Yeah, no, I think that's word on the street is that we are all in for Deshaun Watson. He's like the top. So I'm not surprised at all that they sent the private investigator. They're doing all due diligence they can. So I am not surprised at all. Not one bit. You know what I'm saying? So I really feel like if they can get him, they will. The problem is that, again, he has all of the cards when it comes to where he goes. He has a no trade clause. He's already said, I'm not going to Carolina one time. The things can obviously change, right? His suitors could, Miami's backed out. So there's been some guys that are saying, I'm not dealing with it. So obviously, things can change, but he has all the cards. So I really feel like, again, if we were to package up multiple first-round picks, traded C-Mac, Robbie Anderson, and threw in a whole bunch of other guys, I think they would do it if they can get Deshaun Watson. I really do.
We'll see if Carolina can organize a sales pitch to change Deshaun's mind. And again, tomorrow, a huge day about whether he'll be available or not. Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on social media, Twitter at Panther Nation PC, same on Facebook. But of course, the big one is go to YouTube, search and subscribe to Panther Nation podcast. They go live all the time. I watched a phenomenal breakdown from Rashad on the Deshaun Watson story yesterday. That's still up if you want to go watch it. Rashad, my man, appreciate it, big dog. I suspect next week you and I may or may not be having a very different conversation, sir.
Yeah, I expect things to stay the same. To the draft, I think we'll be having the same style conversations all the way up until the draft. We'll see. We'll see, though. Hopefully something changes.
One day, Rashad will smile again, ladies and gentlemen. Rashad, appreciate you, big fella. We'll talk to you next week, my guy.
All right, sounds good.
There you go. That is Rashad Beard. He is the host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Let's take a break, come back, talk about that a little more. talk about the Deshaun Watson story a little more because I had people tell me yesterday after the show was over that they didn't quite follow what tomorrow means. Look, tomorrow, I think maybe the day we find out that Deshaun does or does not ever play NFL football again. And I'll tell you why next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. And we're back. Oh, I forgot my Sprite in the cooler. Do I have a minute, 30 seconds? Ballpark. Enough time to hit the cooler and come back?
You have 2 minutes.
I'm going to stroll casually. The The best way.
Big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right? No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. Whoever said the more the merrier, she wasn't in charge of hiring new employees, because the more unqualified candidates you have for a job, the more difficult your hiring can be. And that can make the process, well, not so merry for you. Thankfully, there's ZipRecruiter, which you can try right now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/hire. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology finds the right candidates for your job. And unlike other sites, ZipRecruiter goes deeper. ZipRecruiter matches people and you can personally invite your top choices to apply. Because the perfect hire is more than a list of qualifications. It's leads to victory. ZipRecruiter makes hiring the right person easy. And that'll keep you, everyone else, very merry.
Oh God, the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song. Ugh. Have you watched that yet? Coco was a great movie. What's that movie that came out just with that song in it? Encanto. I have not seen it. And I'm at the age now, like, the movie reviews for most of my friends come from the perspective of their kids now. You know what I mean? Like, they talk about Disney movies and like, my kid this, my kid. And I'm like, right, but did you enjoy the movie? I don't care if your 6-year-old enjoyed it.
Well, it's kind of made for them, though.
Oh, 100%.
Most of the Disney stuff like that's come out lately haven't really interested me that much.
Yeah.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good. Really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of content and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no problem.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. All right, a couple of texts that you guys sent in during that interview with Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast. Texter says on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air. Texter says, ESPN, if the Panthers don't take Malik, they got to go OL. That's from Joey. Joey, appreciate the text. Thank you for writing. I'm going to start with, yeah, you're 100% correct. Except for if they don't take Malik, is Kenny Pickett the guy? If they don't take Malik, is Matt Corral the guy, right? Because if you go into the draft with the need for a quarterback, I don't think there's an option left on the table except to draft a quarterback, right? If you go into the draft needing to draft a quarterback, it means that all the veterans, Garoppolo, Cousins, Trubisky, they're all already somewhere. All of those guys, more than likely, will have a contract somewhere in the National Football League already by the time the draft goes. So if you enter the draft as the Carolina Panthers without a quarterback on your roster, you may not have a choice at that point but to take one, unless you're going to organize a draft day trade for one, in which case you're going to end up sending your 6 overall somewhere else anyway and kind of creating a situation where you're in the exact same spot, except for your 6 overall now turns into a 3rd and a 4th, and you're getting somebody way down the line, a Desmond Ridder or somebody like that, right? If you have to draft a quarterback with 6, Lonzo, you got to draft a quarterback. It's not an option at that point.
All right, so we are having the same exact conversation this year that we had last year. How many years is this going to happen? This is the same thing last year. Should they take the quarterback? Should they take the offensive lineman? They took neither. Now the pick they made was a pretty good pick, but
Sure.
still, the needed a quarterback, needed lineman. And this was wasn't it right around this time last year when they traded for Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
So I mean, and people still wanted them to draft Justin Fields, and I'm down for that. I wish they would have done that too.
Darnold was traded to the Panthers on April 5th, 2021, before the draft.
Right, it was before the draft, and at the time, I think you and I were okay with it because we thought that Darnold would get a shot and do a pretty good job, and he got a shot and he did not do a pretty good job. There were times when he didn't look that bad though.
Dude, he had for like 6 weeks, he had the most rushing touchdowns in the National Football League of all players, right? For a while there, we were coming on the show going, bang, told you, Sammy D's got this, but then he did.
But have the Panthers become Jacksonville or Detroit? Have they become that where every year it's the same thing? Get a quarterback or get a lineman. Not with just one piece away. No, this is a couple years in a row where we're having the same conversations. And I don't see a solution as far as I know you're high on Malik, but I don't see a player out there that changes that right now for them.
I don't either, right?
I mean,
what I asked for Sean.
you could say if Deshaun's things work out and they were able to get him, even though he doesn't want to come there, that would definitely be a major step up.
If
he can still play.
If the grand jury does not allow prosecutors to go forward with criminal charges against Deshaun Watson, right? And Deshaun Watson only faces civil suits. Deshaun Watson remains viable. Here's the problem. There are 9 other teams that we are relatively sure of. There are 9 other teams out there that have interest in Deshaun Watson, which means Carolina's in a bidding war. And B, Deshaun Watson's already said no to Carolina once. I don't know what y'all think has changed from 3 months ago that all of a sudden Deshaun would go, well, it's better than nothing and take Carolina when there are other teams. Would you think Deshaun would rather play in Pittsburgh or Charlotte?
Here's what I think. I think those teams will move on quickly. They're not going to wait that long.
I think they're doing the exact same thing Carolina is. They're waiting to see what happens tomorrow.
I think the Panthers are more patient because I think they could pull the trigger at the last second. I think some of the other teams like Pittsburgh, they won't wait that long. I think they'll throw it out there if it is a possibility. If he says no, they're going to move on. They're not going to keep pushing it because they're going to be getting ready for the season. Carolina knows what they have, and what they could get, and Deshaun is the best possibility for them.
So I agree with that. Here's the thing about patience. I think tomorrow is D-Day, right? Tomorrow's D-Day. Maybe, and I don't know. Again, I'm not an attorney, nor did I spend the night at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I am no legal expert, all right? But I'm relatively sure we're going to know tomorrow whether or not Deshaun faces criminal charges. If he does, it's done. You got to be out, right? If he's going to face criminal charges, you got to be out. Because even if he ends up being exonerated or found not guilty of criminal charges, that's still a hell of a lot of baggage, and you got to roll the dice on that in the first place, which I'm not comfortable doing. If he does not face criminal charges, and you're willing to go through the PR headache of bringing Deshaun Watson in for his second chance that he's definitely earned, as will say any team that ends up with him, if you're willing to go through that PR nightmare and Deshaun does not face criminal charges, then yeah, you're still in the game. The problem is, like I mentioned, it's not so much about patience as it is about assets at this point. Because Carolina's not the only team in desperate need of a quarterback. Rashad pointed it out. Seattle has got to find one. Pittsburgh has got to find one. And there's 3 or 4 or 5 other teams out there right now that are all in the same boat of, well, we got a guy, but we would like to upgrade. And Deshaun Watson is an upgrade over probably, even without playing last year, 25 other quarterbacks in the league. Seattle needs a quarterback. Carolina needs a quarterback. There's discussions that Cleveland could be ready to move on from Baker Mayfield. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. There are 9 other teams out there that at least need a quarterback and are going to be paying very close attention to the news out of Houston tomorrow. If you're Carolina, it's almost at the point, somebody made this point earlier in the week. It's too late now. You got to wait it out till tomorrow now. But somebody made the point earlier in the week, and they said, if you're Carolina and you want Deshaun, you needed to put the trade on the table a week ago. You needed to put the trade on the table 2 weeks ago to Houston and go, we're going to offer you 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, and then go to Deshaun and go, look, we're gambling on you, right? We're gambling on you. We're giving up all this under the hope that you don't face criminal charges, and we can work through whatever suspension comes because of the civil lawsuits, which I think at this point the precedent's been laid down, that there will be some sort of suspension from the NFL. You had to have this trade go through a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to get out in front of the other 9 teams in the league who may be interested in this. Because if it becomes a bidding war for the rights to Deshaun Watson, if it becomes a bidding war, you don't have the money to get in on it, right? If tomorrow somebody lists a Ferrari on Facebook for a really good price and it's working and running, it's just been sitting in his garage for a year, Rob Brown is really passionate about getting that Ferrari. That Ferrari is Rob Brown's choice of vehicle. I want that Ferrari. I will trade you my Jeep for it, right? But here's the thing. It doesn't matter how bad I want it. Doesn't matter if I am all in to get it. At the end of the day, when I go talk to the guy selling the Ferrari and I go, hey, I want this. And he goes, yeah. But big high roller Lonzo stepped in and he's got 200G on the table, right? I don't have the ability to compete with that. No matter how, I might want it more than Zoe, but I don't have Lonzo money. That's the situation here. I don't think if you are Carolina that you can rest on, we'll get Deshaun. The odds are immeasurably stacked against you at this point to bring number 4 to Charlotte. A couple other texts that have come in. Texter says, none of these quarterbacks are first-round picks. You want a quarterback? Trade the 6th pick to the Packers for Jordan Love. Honestly, Lonzo, that might be – I don't know that I like Jordan Love more than I like Malik. What I do like is he's been in the league. He's seen the speed of the game, even if it's in spot duty. He learned from Aaron Rodgers, at least as much as Aaron Rodgers was able and willing to teach him, right? He's been around. It's a more known commodity than Malik. I honestly think Malik's going to be a star.
I don't know that it is. I mean, we can go back to the past when Aaron Rodgers was behind Brett Favre, and some people couldn't believe that they let Brett Favre go for Aaron Rodgers. This is totally different. Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers. He's not anywhere close. If he was, all the drama that supposedly has happened, I don't know how much of it is real and how much of it is media created as far as the tensions and stuff in Green Bay. It could all just be a big troll, and they may all be in on it, which I think is hilarious. But if those tensions were real and they thought they really had something in Jordan Love, they would have let Aaron Rodgers go, and they did not.
Back-to-back NFL MVP. I don't care how good you are, right? Like I don't. By the way, here's a fun little nugget. If Aaron Rodgers does sign a 4-year contract and he plays out those 4 years, Lonzo, the Green Bay Packers will have had 2 starting quarterbacks in 34 years. You could be 34 years old, and if you're a Packer fan, you have had 2 quarterbacks. There are teams that had 3 quarterbacks last year.
By the way, both those quarterbacks, pretty good.
Pretty good. And finally, there is no way any team in the NFL is going to give the Panthers a first-round pick for CMC. He's often injured, and let's be honest, running backs are easily replaced for way less than the cost of a first-round pick. I actually disagree. I think somebody would give a first, right? I think somebody would give a first, under the guise that Lonzo and I've said many times, the Panthers overuse Christian McCaffrey. They run him in ISOs up the gut. He's not a power back, and they run him like
by the
one
way,
gut. Spurs on the injury.
I don't know Andy Reid personally, but I would think that Kansas City would give up a first round for CMC.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
But a team that's near the top and always near the top, they're looking for that little extra piece. He's a known commodity when he's healthy.
Yeah.
And if you look at him and you go, I can keep that guy healthy because I know how to play him. Yeah, you're giving up a first round for him.
Edwards-Helaire as a power back, McCaffrey as a third down nimble back, Reek on the outside as a wide receiver. Good freaking luck. Oh, and by the way, that guy playing quarterback, that's okay. Good freaking luck.
He's all right.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a couple more stories I want to get into this hour. 220 Fight Club with Lonzo, your home for combat sports in the upstate comes your way. And we have been at no shortage of news and info on that. Stick around. The Rob Brown Show's back after this on ESPN Upstate.
Yeah, I'm like, please send McCaffrey to Kansas City. I don't think he'd be a third down back either. Because Edwards-Helaire can't stay healthy either. So between the two of them.
Yeah.
But Kansas City uses their running backs more as receivers anyway. That's why he would fit better and would get less wear and tear. And you throw him in there in Kansas City, who you concentrating on?
That is one of those times that you go, there is so much talent. We have to play a foundation defense, right? Like we can't stack up on one guy because it opens it up and there's just too much talent.
The only thing is that first round draft pick is pretty late. You know, it's probably in the like 30, 29,
Kansas
something like
City's,
that.
y'all be 28 or 29, right? No,
Yeah.
sorry, 29 or 30.
So is that a high enough draft pick?
I mean, do you have a choice? I don't know if it is for you guys, if there are other teams that are
Interested in doing the same
interested
thing.
in the same deal, exactly. Because if you're Carolina, you're taking whatever the highest first round offer is you get.
This became a game, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
I think they're starting to play better defense on the perimeter, and it's causing Syracuse to not have open shots for the three-pointers.
Exactly. And the open ones they have just aren't falling. There comes a point where the law of averages catches up with you.
And then there's your guy. There he is. He just hit one. Because they left him open. And when he's hitting those, you notice he's like probably 5 feet beyond the arc when he's hitting them.
Oh, he's he's going NBA range.
When he goes up in the air, you know it's going in. Oh, then they answered. Wow. Now they got a 4-point lead. What was the biggest lead Duke had early on? I can't remember.
12, I think.
No, that was Syracuse, wasn't it? Did Duke ever have a lead this big?
Yeah, Duke was up early. Duke went on. Remember, they had him down 24-13 when I did the first update.
But because Duke is so big, it's hard for Syracuse to go in on them.
Oh,
So when their 3-pointers aren't dropping, that's why they're
exactly correct, sir.
Oh, that was pretty.
Right now and get 50% off installation with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a full or in-home appliance, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take the best sports talk show in South Carolina.
Struggle bus is real today, Lonzo. Struggle bus is real today. Welcome back to Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Quick update. Duke has regained the lead away from the Syracuse Orange, 69-67 now in favor of the Blue Devils. Cole Swaddell, the three-point ace for the Orange, was in fuego early in the day. Cooled off for a little bit, put a couple more in late. Paulo Banchero, who is the ACC Freshman of the Year, 8-6-4 for him so far in this game. Syracuse is not going away, though. The shots are coming in streaks, right? They'll miss 3 or 4 and then make 3 or 4. Duke cannot seem to pull away as Banchero misses 2 consecutive free throws at the line. So Syracuse still very much alive. 3-pointer is up and no good. Duke with the rebound and a foul called on Syracuse here. So the Blue Devils get the ball back. 8:20 left to play in the second. Joe Girard, the third, 20 points in this game, but now at 3 fouls with over 8 minutes left to play. Syracuse in trouble, not on the scoreboard, Lonzo, but in trouble in that their 2 3-point aces are both at 3 fouls at this point. So they've got to be exceptionally careful and lighten the defense up a little bit. 3 ball from Duke is good, so they will expand that lead to 72-67 inside of 8 minutes left to play in this one. We're going to keep an eye on this as Mike Krzyzewski's final run through the ACC tournament depends on his team finding a way to get by Cuse. Jumper missed by Syracuse there. Duke goes the other way, out for a 3, and if this goes in, it's over. Nope, he missed. All right, so Syracuse still alive here. Momentum squarely in the hands of the Blue Devils, however. So we'll keep you updated on this game as we approach its stellar conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. A couple more things. I wanted to get this story in real quick. I'll just do it real quick on the fly because it's not like a story. It's just something hilarious. A lawsuit, Lonzo. I don't know if you saw this. You probably have. What with you being on top of the game. A lawsuit has been filed against Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And the lawsuit has been filed by a woman, a 25-year-old congressional aide who grew up in North Texas, has sued Jerry Jones, alleging in what is soon to be a Netflix thriller that Jerry Jones is her biological father. Attorneys for Alexandra Davis filed the lawsuit Thursday in Dallas County, saying that Jones and her mother had a relationship in the mid-1990s from which she was conceived. According to court documents, Jones and Davis's mother, Cynthia Davis, reached a settlement to financially support the mother and child as long as they didn't publicly identify her as Jones' daughter. Davis is asking a court to find that she isn't legally bound by the agreement between Jones and her mother if she were to attempt to legally establish that he is her father. She doesn't want to be sued or lose her financial trust. She is also seeking declaration from the court that such settlement agreements should be unenforceable in Texas. The lawsuit temporarily sealed Wednesday ahead of a hearing scheduled for March 31st. The Dallas Morning News obtained the lawsuit through the county's online court record system before the file was sealed. Davis and her attorney cannot be reached by comment. There is one striking similarity between her and Jerry Jones, Lonzo. One striking similarity. And that similarity is neither one of them has a Super Bowl ring since the 1990s. So
there's that. Yeah.
Yes, I did do all that just to set up that joke.
But, it's okay.
Yes, I did all that work just to set up that joke.
Truth hurts, doesn't it, Cowboys fans?
Let's take a break, come back, wrap up hour number 2. Hour number 3 going to be a busy one. Stick around, don't go anywhere. It's going to get weird on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
time has passed. So it's good to know where you stand on things. Also about, what you're allowed to directly quote. I mean, we're learning all kinds of
All
things.
kinds of fun stuff.
Yes, we are. As I believe Eddie Money said, I want to go back and do it all over because, I do. I want to go back to when that was not permitted.
As jingles go, it's catchy.
What is allowed and not allowed now has become vague and hard to read. Whereas, a few years ago, you knew exactly what was okay and what wasn't. So it really comes down to not whether I approve or not, because it doesn't really matter, but it's what is the acceptable norm.
Yeah.
And no one can tell me that.
I mean, what was
Yes, that might be getting really deep, but it is my problem.
What was it that Tipper Gore said? I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it.
Right. But still, there are things clearly defined by the FCC that we can and cannot do. I believe the thing a couple of days ago, or yesterday rather, which actually will be playing today, falls under the we shouldn't play it. But as far as that goes, and I know we're on stream now, I don't care. I have written proof that takes away responsibility.
Yeah. Oh man used to tell me you get everything in an email.
And I will be proud if someone decides to hit a button. But I'm not going to say anything.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2 right here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. We come back here in just a minute. Update on the baseball negotiations because there was a big story that broke last night. And then that situation resolved itself less than 12 hours later, except for in between that situation becoming a situation and that situation resolving itself less than 12 hours later, another week of baseball games got canceled, pushing opening day back to April 14th now. But there's one more incentive for baseball to get the deal done and make sure they don't lose more games. And it is a big one for Major League Baseball. And I'm going to tell you what that is when we come back. Then at 2:20, it is time for Lonzo's Fight Club. All things combat sports. We're talking about a big UFC event last weekend. May or may not be on there. A massive show up last night on AEW. May or may not be on there. We got a lot to get to. All that coming up in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
We apparently were off the air for a little while at the beginning of last hour, or which is why Chris came in here. And of course, the first thing they have to do is check and see if it's something that I did, which is fine. I mean, except for that, except check the air signal. I can't do that because the microphones dead in the speakers, so there's no way I can check. They know that, but they always come and ask me that. But in times past, when you're off the air, that's it. But we're always on stream, so I don't know how long that lasted, but they got an alert, and I'm like,
long ago.
yes.
Let's just go to the line. We got Jimmy in Greenville. Hey, Jimmy, what's up, bud?
Some people haven't held up their end of what they're supposed to be doing.
Why? Whatever do you mean?
Yes. Which is why where we have like 30, they have like 4. That's okay. It's because we got skills and gumption.
Not lacking in the gumption department.
We've got what's known around here as want to. QC Connects in first break. Wait, March is here? I mean, okay. I guess it's been here for like 10 days. Didn't notice. Hope the NIT doesn't cost me a half day. No, that's not what I mean. If Furman's in the NIT, we're carrying.
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, baseball. You guys are idiots. I'm not a mean person, Lonzo. You know that. I'm not a mean guy. I don't insult people until they just absolutely deserve it.
I'm going to wear on you eventually. Not in the way that you'll lash out on me, but you might pick up some of my habits. So you might start lashing out a little bit just because.
I don't like conflict. I flee from conflict. It served me well most of my life. I've never been punched in the face, you know? I feel like I've done okay. But man, you guys.
By the way, you probably don't know this, but getting punched in the face, it hurts.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah,
that's why I've been working my butt off to avoid it at all possible outcomes. So here's there's 2 angles that I wanted to get to this baseball update at. And some of you guys are going, Rob, I don't care, right? I see y'all social media tweets and whatnot. Some of y'all genuinely don't care, and that's fine, but baseball is still one of America's big 4. It's going to get talked about. So 2 days ago, baseball sat down and did 17 consecutive hours of negotiations in a single day. And I came on the air yesterday and commended them for that. In a way of too little too late, because when it came down to it, right? When it came down to it, you should have been doing that back in December, right? It's like giving an A to a kid who turned in their 28-page book report, but they read the book the night before the project. Like, good job, but you should have started that 2 months ago when we assigned it, right? But at the same time, you got both sides still trying to win the PR battle. And one of the takes that I saw earlier from a reporter was that a lot of what is holding up the negotiations right now are things that have just recently been added into the negotiations as a whole. That one reporter said, now let me rephrase that. I don't want to call him a reporter. One analyst, because there is a difference. I am an analyst. I'm not a reporter. I don't break stories. Doesn't mean I never will, right? Doesn't mean I never will. If I'm in a game and something happens and I'm there and I witness it and I report it, yeah, I'm breaking a story. But at the end of the day, my job is to analyze stories, not break them, not report them. An analyst said, and I think he may have a point, that baseball now has a couple of times in order to try to sway public opinion, which I think for the majority of the time has been in the players' favor, away from them, by letting these stories come out. They're close, they're close, they're close, they're close, they're close. And then at the very last minute, adding something or changing something or tweaking something they know the players are going to say no to. Because let's be honest, the overwhelming majority of us, and I put myself in this group too, the overwhelming majority of us, we're following this story. We're paying attention to the story, but we don't know the minute details, right? We don't know all the tiny little details going into these negotiations. If I ask most of you right now, what's the arbitration money that the players are looking for versus what the league's looking for? Y'all have been covering this story for freaking 93 days now, and I don't know the answer to that today, as of today, right? So what this guy is arguing, and a couple of players have come out and said he's correct, is that what baseball is doing, Major League Baseball in this case, the owners, what the owners are doing at this point is the owners are going, okay, we're real close on a deal, and now that we're this close to a deal, we're going to go ahead and drop this number down. And the players are going, nope, we don't agree to that. And then baseball's turning around going, well, we had a deal in place, but the players said no. But not saying what they said no to, right? It's just politics. It's just optics and politics. Last night, late in the afternoon, there was a 6 o'clock deadline to get a deal done on Tuesday. That deal did not come through on Tuesday, but baseball said, you know what? We're going to add one day to the deadline. We're going to add one more day. We're going to make it Wednesday at 6 o'clock since we got a lot done. So the players and the owners met again yesterday, started talking, started chatting. Could not reach a deal. And last night at 6 p.m., Jeff Passan and co. broke the news that baseball had canceled the second week of the season, pushing the opening day back to April 14th. April 14th. That's bad news because, again, we're getting to the point where teams are losing hundreds of games. Players are now very close to losing a year worth of time served on their contracts and their money because they're not getting paid for games they're not playing, right? We're hitting critical mass here. But then the details of why it went that way came out. Baseball, Major League Baseball, wants an international draft that is separate from the Major League Baseball draft. So there would be 2 drafts. The first draft would be of players from the college ranks, the American ranks. And then there'd be a second draft for players from around the rest of the world looking to enter Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball wants that draft to happen. Major League Baseball wants that to be a thing. The players do not. The players don't. Now, why? There's a lot of different reasons. David Ortiz, Big Papi, put out in an interview yesterday his belief of what the reason is. And his belief of what the reason is that a lot of the international leagues that players will be drafted from, and Papi, of course, from the Dominican Republic, used the DR as his number one example, right? He said, here's the deal. The Dominican Republic is in a spot right now. They are not ready for an international draft. They don't have the resources for an international draft at this point. If we put an international draft in at this point and ask the Dominican baseball leagues to participate, they would get overwhelmed. It would become disorganized. It would break those leagues down because players would basically be fleeing those leagues to get there, and it would decimate those leagues, which in turn, down the line, would create a situation that the international draft becomes unsustainable. Whether David Ortiz is right or not, I don't know, right? And frankly, I'm going to say this respectfully, none of you know either. There may be 1, maybe 2 super fans in the listening audience that have a real solid grasp on Dominican professional baseball leagues, but the majority of us don't. Like 99% of us. So I don't know if David Ortiz and the players are right or not. I will say I would defer to them. They're going to know more about it than me. But also there's the other side of the argument, which is the players are anti-international draft. Why? Because it opens MLB contracts up to literally a world of new people. And if you are Major League Baseball and you make it easier for international players to enter Major League Baseball, there are fewer contracts to go around for domestic players, for homegrown players. And so they're protecting their jobs. I don't know which one of those 2 things is right. It may be a combination of both. It may be exclusively one or the other. We don't know. I don't think we can know. I got to defer to those 2 sides for that. But here's the crux of what happened yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, Major League Baseball went to the players and said, here is our proposal for an international draft. Here's what we'd like to have happen. The Players Association, when they got the first proposal, said, nah, we don't want it. No, thank you. We're good. Baseball said, okay, well, then we don't have a deal right now. We're going to hold off. We're going to wait a minute. And we'll check back in tomorrow. Tick tock, 6 o'clock strikes. Well, shortly after 6 o'clock, the Major League Baseball Players Association went to the owners and said, we have reconsidered. We will accept the proposal that you put on paper for the international draft if that is the hinge point to get a deal done. And baseball, who remember, their last 2 deadlines have moved 3 times. They moved the first deadline twice. They moved the second deadline once. They moved the deadline 3 times. Baseball, who ultimately is the arbiter of said deadline, said, yep, sorry, you didn't make it in by the deadline. So we're going to go ahead and cancel another week of baseball games. We're going to hold off. I'm going to say, as optics go, that's worse. That's worse, right? Baseball came back to you and said, hey, the Players Association came back to you and said, hey, we are going to give you what you want. We are going to give you what you asked for. That proposal you put on the table, we are good with it now, if that's what it takes to not cancel another week of games. And baseball, who has moved their deadline 3 times so far, said, yeah, you didn't make it in by the deadline, and sorry, a deadline's a deadline. We can't do anything about it. We wash our hands. Let's try again tomorrow. And then they cancel games. That's silly, right? That's silly. It's your deadline. And it's not real. Like birds and chemtrails. It's not real. That's a joke. The point is.
Yeah, because both of those are real.
The point is, you have already moved deadlines 3 times. It is your decision about when and where to move the deadline. The players came back to you and said, hey, we are making this major concession. It's not even a compromise. We're coming to you. Baseball proposed earlier in the day, okay, we're not going to institute an international draft. We just want to keep this conversation going. So in order to reach an agreement on everything else, we want to engage in a negotiation on the international draft through the rest of the year. If we make it to the end of the year and we have an international draft that you agree to in place, super duper. And if we make it to the end of the year and we do not have an agreement on an international draft, then we'll go back to the old method of arbitration and leave the numbers where they are. Baseball said no, or baseball players said no, came back right after the deadline and said, okay, we accept that. And baseball said, nah, sorry, you're after the deadline. Game weekend number 2 is canceled. You see how that's silly? You see how that's ridiculous? It's the point that I'm making. The PR battle is the number one thing here. It is great to think, oh, you know, they want to get the season going. They want to make sure that the fans get their baseball. But they don't. They want to win the PR war. The players want to win it. The owners want to win it. Because as I've told you 100 times on this show, while this story has been breaking for 90, what are we at? Day 95 now? 94? Whoever wins the fans wins the negotiations. And that battle still rages. I think the players have most fans in their corner, but not all, as our text line indicates every time I bring this story up, right? I don't understand why it is that last night was the night that baseball decided they needed to take a hard line. Why last night was the night that they needed to go, we can't move deadlines. You've moved deadlines 3 times in 2 weeks. But last night, after the players offered a compromise, that's the part where you went, can't do it. It doesn't make sense. And it really makes the owners look bad. It really does. 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air. Duke takes the win away from Syracuse. A valiant effort by the Orange without Buddy Boeheim, who may have been the difference maker in this game if he was available, but suspended for 1 game. Coach K and the Blue Devils dance on. 27-5 is their record after an 88-279 win over the Syracuse Orange, who fall to 16-17. Duke will now move on to the semifinals of the ACC tournament. We'll take a bigger, deeper look at some of the tournaments later on in the show, but coming up next, it's time. It's time. Lonzo brings you Fight Club next. Your home for all things combat sports here in the upstate.
I'm glad you stopped yourself because we don't know about. Yeah. That's probably that was nearly. I might have had to dump that.
I don't know if little brother has the same anger issues that big brother does.
I believe he does.
Yeah.
I believe it's like later on in those emails, but it's in there.
I think you're right. Back after this with Fight Club on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
QC.
Tell you about my friends at QC Kinetics, ladies and gentlemen. Your boy used to be an athlete. Many moons ago, Rob Brown was known to spend some time in the gym, in the weight room, on the field, on the diamond, on the court, wherever. Problem is, after doing that for the better part of 28, 29, 30 years, my joints hurt like frequently and a lot. It's just a reality. And that is why when our folks downstairs came and said, hey, look, we're partnering up with QC Kinetics. Are you interested in being a partner? And I said, well, you know, I like science. I like science. I like to know what I know instead of believe things. So I look them up, and I did. And I looked them up, and I talked to the folks at QC Kinetics. I talked to them about their non-surgical regenerative therapies. I talked about the fact that you go in, you meet Dr. Richard Schaefer, MD. And QC Kinetics uses their therapy, which harnesses your body's natural healing abilities, right? Remember when you were young, you bounced around like a spring and it never really bothered you. That's because at the time, that connective tissue inside of your joints was able to heal itself and regenerate itself. And as you age, that stops. QC Kinetics knows the catalyst to kick that back into gear, to help your body heal and regenerate that connective tissue that takes away your joint pain as you age. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I want to partner with QC Kinetics because I understand that struggle. I understand how it works. I understand now why it works, and I'm all in. You want to find out more about how you can get that joint pain to go away and get back to living your day-to-day life without the joint pain and the fear of it? Well, check them out online at QCkinetics.com, 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 or give them a buzz right now at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that first consultation for free with our friends at QC Kinetics.
To remain with the Panthers. They've also agreed to a one-year contract with linebacker Julian Stanford. He was scheduled to become unrestricted free agent as well. Clemson baseball, they break a 1-1 tie with 2 runs late, and they end up defeating Michigan State by a 4-2 score. They go to 12-0 on the season.
Wow.
Sent for a weekend series as they play host to Northeastern. Game 1.
Do you have an angle on the right side?
Yeah, a little.
Okay. Oh,
There's not much. It's like
highway robbery.
It's about 3 inches. Rough.
Ooh. So for those of you that are wondering why Lonzo is repeatedly throwing trash at the wall, the trash can, the game is we don't move the trash can. There it is. Nice bang shot. We don't move the trash can except for somebody's supposed to trash can over and underneath a little table that's over here. And so there's only about that much of the trash can sticking out the table from underneath the table. See, it's all about angles. All about angles.
Yeah, the unwritten rule is we can't move the trash can. So sometimes it's nearly impossible.
Again,
Rob is throwing beanbags or horseshoes, and you know.
Well, I've decided to go with the slow strategy. Try to catch the back.
Oh, so close. It's okay. Diesel's not here yet, so we're all right. Don't have to worry about, you know, noise complaints.
This is the worst performance of my trash can basketball career.
There we go.
1 for 7. Unbelievable.
You know, but we strive, we persevere, we overcome. That's what we do.
100%. Nothing short of perfection is good enough for me.
We do need a trash can, Cam.
Really do.
Wonder if we can get some GoPros to throw over there.
There's got to be one laying around somewhere, right?
Oh, there's extra cameras.
And also, we just call it trash can, right?
Yeah, of course, trash cam. You're right. And if you're watching, you're thinking they would never ask. I definitely will ask engineering to do that. And it will not be an unusual request. This may be another one of those, can we build that? Why, yes, we can.
Why, yes, we can. If you build it, they will throw bottles at it.
Diesel's not here, so he didn't hear the ruckus. So we're all right.
I mean, we're all right even if he was.
Yeah. Not really afraid, and definitely not going to miss on purpose to make noise just to make him mad. Never do that.
Would never even consider it.
Closet box.
It's a box. That's like a closet.
Local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. Closet Box has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off first month storage using code radio50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
This report is sponsored by Freedom Plasma. Did you know blood plasma collected by Freedom Plasma is used for several life-saving therapies? Did you know you can earn hundreds of dollars safely donating yours? Go to freedomplasma.com or call 864-377-8115. Start earning cash and saving lives. I just don't think he's good at
Welcome into the Fight Club, where we talk all things squared circle, all things octagon, all things Walmart parking lot. And be careful. We might Buddy Boeheim you if you get too close. Except I'll throw a real punch. Rob thinks that's a punch. I don't think that's a punch.
There's nothing else to call it.
What do you call? I mean,
a closed fist slap.
Yeah, but it's kind of. I mean, you're coming back with the palm term for it, or perhaps Kung Fu or karate.
You go find it, and then I'll start calling it.
I wouldn't even know how to look that up.
Right, that's my point.
There's got to be a more. Exactly. All right. A ton of AEW stuff. And there was a conversation on Twitter last night, which was taken up between Rob and Fat Boy from the Rise Guys.
Cardboard thief.
Where Fat Boy was saying what I've been saying. And so we're going to get to that too. But first, I have a question. Past or present, who would be your WrestleMania opponent, and what kind of match would it be? This goes for you too. If you're listening on the air, text line 71307, start your text with ESPN, or on the ESPN Upstate Facebook page where we're live streaming. Past or present, who would you wrestle at WrestleMania, and what kind of match would it be?
Oh God. Anybody I want, huh?
Anybody you want.
I'm gonna go. I wish you would have asked me this pre-show and let me think about it.
Well, that's the whole thing about it.
I know. I'm
you
like,
know.
I got generations worth of guys. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Ric Flair in a Rolex on a pole match. I'm going Rolex on a pole match.
Do you get to
up
keep the
against
Rolex?
Flair. Oh, if I win, I get the limousine, I get the plane, I get the women, I get the money, and I get the robe. Which, by the way, Lonzo, you'll appreciate this. Not to train wreck your segment here, but the lady friend and I have talked, and we came to some compromises. Should we elect down the line to enter a state of matrimony? She has given me permission, Lonzo, to walk into a reception to Space Odyssey in a black and gold Ric Flair robe.
There you go.
Hashtag keeper.
Do you own one at present?
No, not yet.
We have to requisition
I
one.
will
Yeah.
commission that.
Okay.
However, you can, should you have the cash, and I hope by then I do, you can buy ring-worn Ric Flair jerseys online. They're all over the place. That come with like pictures of him wearing that robe and whatnot. So my goal would be, and it doesn't have to be black and gold. If I can find one that is a ring-worn Ric Flair robe, that's the way I have to do that, right? I have to.
Well, yeah, you do. I mean, now that's been discussed. I mean, so yeah, you've got to do that. By the way, my match would be with Sting, and it would be a Falls Count Anywhere match.
After what you saw that old man do this past weekend.
Oh yeah, and it would have been in his prime too. Not now. I don't want Sting now because I'd be afraid that he'd probably still hurt me though. I think
He
he's
hurt himself. My dude went through a table from a story up. Sting, you are 3 years old, my guy. Settle down. We know you still got it. We don't need it put on display every week.
all right.
I believe you.
Steven says he would go up against Paul Bearer in an Inferno match.
You can't wrestle Paul Bearer.
Why not?
Because
It's
Bearer's going to send out literally either of the monsters after you.
exactly.
You got to wrestle a wrestler. Okay, fine. I'm wrestling Trish Stratus in my house match.
There you go. It's
In
perfectly
an
acceptable.
Untelevised, uncensored in my house match. That's my WrestleMania match.
Well, you win. I don't know that she does, but I mean, there's that. Let's see. Tayshawn says I'd take the Hardy Boys any day. He doesn't specify what kind of
You want a
match.
handicap match? Or
Yeah,
you got
speaking of the last night, Matt. So apparently, I guess they own the music because usually you can't do that. Usually you can't come out to that music if it. For some reason, I thought WWE created that music, and maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
I was gonna say, I think Team Extreme had that music before they got to WWE, or F or C or whichever one it was when they showed up the first time. There's a lot of guys that had their music before that, and they own it and can take it with it. A lot of them will then license it to WWE, but when they get let go contractually, they can take it with them. That being said, I was a little shocked because I would have thought the same thing, but I guess it must have been something that he had before he got there and he owned the license. And so when he was let go by WWE, he gets to take the music with him. Either way, it was rad. I love that he's like, yeah, my brother's getting it handed to him, but I still got to dance down the runway.
Well,
amazing.
Well, yeah, when you come out, you
Amazing.
got to do that. I mean, what's a couple more punches? Well, Matt's been hit a bunch, so.
I'm going to say the best pop the last 2 years was the Hardy Boys coming out at WrestleMania after New Day introduced the surprise tag team and New Day losing their mind over it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So Jeff Hardy is now AEW. So are a lot of people. A whole lot, just a lot of people. We'll talk more about that in a second. I want to talk a little bit about William Regal breaking down in the ring last night, talking to Tony Schiavone, almost started crying. Is it an act? I don't know. but I almost started crying when William Regal said he was 53, because William Regal looks rough. And by the way, in case you didn't know, I'm 53. So when I see someone say I'm 53, and I go, dude, and he went through a lot of health problems too that isn't talked about, where he nearly died from some things, which was not wrestling related, but still, he looks pretty rough for 53.
You think so? I thought he looked.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm probably going to look like crap at 53.
Yeah,
then
yeah.
if that's rough to you.
But at the same time, it was good to see him in the ring. Good to see him talking. I think it's still a little rough around the edges, but this is the building of a faction, so you don't want it to be entirely smooth. It was cool to see, and from what I just read like a couple minutes ago before this segment, Tony Schiavone at the pay-per-view did not know that Regal was coming out.
Yeah.
So they kept it that kind of a secret, which is a good thing to do, to get genuine reactions. I mean, those guys are good at their job. They've been doing it for a long time, but a genuine reaction, it's hard to fake that. So that was pretty cool. So they set this up, Rob, as a faction. Now it's a tag team. Is it going to be a faction, or is it going to be a tag team?
I think it's probably going to start as a tag team and develop into a faction, right? Like that was when DB came to Mox the first time. The whole premise was, what if we take some of this young talent, which there is plenty of, under our wings and teach them violence, right? I kind of like that tag, to be honest with you. We teach them violence, and then they went out there and had an absolute buzzsaw of a match. Mox and DB did. And now you bring in William Regal, who, NXT career aside, when Regal was a bad guy back in the day, I mean, he was a violent bad guy as kind of the overseer. I think it's
He was so smug too.
Oh,
It
he
was
was.
perfect. It was so
he
perfect.
was. He was. I mean,
British aristocrat
Yeah.
snob. It was so good.
he was a phenomenal villain who, when those brass knucks came out, somebody was getting their jaw broke. Loved him then, love him now. So, and the other thing I think he does is he was so beloved for his run as the commish of NXT that he kind of lost that aspect of his character, right? He became the British boss that had some comedy moments, had some serious moments, but he was a business guy. I think now you put him in charge of two guys whose method of choice is extreme violence, and you let him be the old William Regal. I think this is great.
And you and I have discussed this, I think maybe on stream. I don't think we've talked about it on the air, and I could be wrong. William Regal would be perfect to run ROH. And we'll see what Tony Khan does, or at least be the figurehead to run ROH. We've seen him run NXT, and he was some of the best parts of
great.
it whenever he came out. So you put him over there and maybe put someone who he's going to butt heads with all the time. I think that would be excellent. All right. A couple other things, major things happened last night. Chris Jericho takes a heel turn. And yeah, we did, but who he teamed up with did not see coming. Okay. So Jericho is teamed up with Team 2.0 and Garcia, and did not see that coming. Although at least two of those three are Canadian. So I don't know if you make it a Canadian faction or not. Maybe you do. Some of the best factions in the past, the heel factions, were Canadian factions, where they went America versus Canada. It always works because we just don't like Canada. Don't know why, but we just don't like Canada.
Canada's lovely.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful country.
maybe that's why they're
Beautiful
lovely.
country.
So Jericho turns his back on the inner circle, and when Hayter comes out, did you think that he was going to be against Jericho or join him? They're not doing anything with him. Knew for sure he would be with Jericho. So that's not really a surprise.
He had a heel run too. There was a point where they were going to make him WWE champion.
The people.
Yeah, but the We the People run was phenomenal. And the beautiful thing about that was it's one of the few times that WWE saw a political angle, ran with it, and it worked perfectly, right? Because there were a lot of people who genuinely loved that character. They're like, I agree with this guy, and other people who hated him for who he was. It was an amazing run. And by the way, if Zeb Coulter shows up, I lose my mind. Loved Zeb Coulter. Him on the motor scooter was some great stuff. No, I'm not surprised by that.
I think his real name is Dutch Mantel,
It is.
and he's all the time on social media commenting
Oh, he's
on
phenomenal.
things.
He's phenomenal.
It's like him and Cornette and a couple other old school
Yeah.
guys always dogging or praising whatever's going on in wrestling.
No, not
You know,
surprised.
it's those old guys on the porch, but they actually know how to use a computer. So it's that sort of thing.
The Jericho term was painfully scripted, to be honest. I mean, we saw that coming a couple of weeks ago, that was going to be the case. But the thing about Chris Jericho is, I think he's a better heel than he is a face, to be honest with you. And every time that dude, he's one of the few. Every time he turns, it's a new character, right? Every time he turns,
All I can say is, if he takes the song away, I'm going to be upset because I
spent all that time learning it for 2 weeks from now.
I got it down now. I mean, I can sing that song. I was going to be you and not. They've never seen of me. Well, some people have seen of me.
Emotion.
That hurt really bad. Yeah.
I had like 8 people at Raw we went to go, Rob, it's like, is Lonzo okay? Because he's just like,
and then
just, like, sitting there.
if you ask my family, I was having a great time, which I absolutely was having a great time. I was also really concerned about my granddaughter because we made a mistake bringing her. We were too close to the pyro and it was scaring her to death, and I didn't know how to fix it. But for the most part, other than that, I was having a good time. When I go to a football game, when I go to a basketball game, I am sitting forward. I am watching. I'm intense. I want to watch what's out there. I don't care what's happening in the crowd as long as, I'm not about to get hit or shot or something. I'm there to watch what's on the thing. But I was ready for the song. He better play the song. That's all I'm saying. Because I'm letting the hair down and I'm singing the song. I might even throw my arm. I just want to do that. And the camera will probably be sitting somewhere like behind the hard cam or something, and it won't happen. But we'll see.
Texter says AEW is so much better than WWE right now, unless you really love Brock and Roman.
See, I disagree. I think there are good spots and bad spots in both companies. And just like Marvel and DC, I think you can love both. I do. If you have to pick one side or another, I think it means you're shallow and you don't have room to grow.
Wow. Okay.
And I would like to help you come around to a better way of thinking.
Show me the way, Lonzo. Show me the way.
That's what I'm here for. All right. So also, I don't know if you knew this, but let's see. Swerve Strickland is AEW. Jeff Hardy is AEW. Paige Van Zandt, which we knew was coming, and I'm looking forward to, because she couldn't fight anymore. She just kept getting her butt beat everywhere.
Really did.
So let's go to something where she might win. I'm looking forward to her being AEW. The problem is everybody is AEW. This is like when the NWO just kept bringing people. And with that, there's a chance to expand the roster if he does it. And I mean, when I say expand, I mean move some of the roster to ROH. If not, it's getting really crowded. And like I alluded to earlier, or actually I just said it, that Rob and Fat Boy were having a conversation on Twitter about the same thing I've been saying, that they've signed so many people. There are people that they have signed to AEW we never see on TV because they have too many people.
Yeah, somebody pointed out the other day that there are some folks that were instrumental in getting AEW through the pandemic when they couldn't have audiences, including, I mean, Orange Cassidy's got a rocket strap to him, but what's happened to the Best Friends, right? Like the Best Friends put on that street fight with who was it? Ortiz and them, and now they basically only come out to bail out Orange Cassidy when he gets attacked by another faction. And I think I think you have a valid point, but I think that's why ROH is in AEW's pocket now, because it opens the door up. And again, there is a market saturation point. There is a point where AEW goes, okay, we start losing people if we do more than X amount of hours per week, but I don't think they're at it yet. So I think there's another show coming. Do you create an NXT style show that you move all the young talent down to? Do you create I don't know. I kind of almost want them to maybe create like an extreme AEW, right? Like AEW meets EC Dub, where you can get Daniel Bryan and Moxley doing those crazy ass moves we want to see.
Just call it the Blood Show, because they really love blood in AEW. So if you don't like blood, not the thing to watch. One last thing before we go to break. Dolph Ziggler is your new NXT champion. does this mean that Braun Breaker is done in NXT and he's moving up? Because he's already wrestling house shows. So is Ciampa, by the way. Even though Ciampa says he would, he is NXT, he's been wrestling a ton of house shows. Both of them were
times.
Yeah, both of them were on Raw this past week wrestling a tag team match, and Ciampa's been on Raw and I believe SmackDown also. So is Braun Breaker moving up?
I mean, they
And
seem to
should
be,
he?
They seem to be in love with the guy, and with good reason, right? Like the dude's a good wrestler, and he's entertaining.
He's got some decent genes too.
Yeah, and he comes from good stock. He knows the business.
Speaking of the genes he comes from, Rick and Scott Steiner, you can see them live at South Carolina Comic-Con April 9th and 10th at the convention center. If you've always wanted to meet those guys, they're going to be there. So you need to check that out.
Headgear and chainmail optional.
Oh, I hope they wear both of those. That would be awesome.
The Steiner brothers.
I just expect grunts from either one of them when you
Pick
talk
one,
on
Frankensteiner or Steiner recliner.
Frankensteiner.
Absolutely.
The Steiner
Absolutely.
recliner, anyone can do that. Not anyone can do the Frankensteiner. And that's their move so much that when people talk about that move, they say that. They don't rename it. They name it that.
It is what it is. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. Got a couple more stories I want to bang through before we get out of here with Twitter on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
In case of people on stream haven't noticed, when we do Fight Club, I am the heel. Just saying. It's the only time in my life I get to be one.
The only time?
Well, yeah. Because I'm genteel all other times.
Lonzo is the emotional
Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about?
stalwart for us here on the show.
Okay, what's your name? All right, hang on, William. All right, hang on, William.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing.
Bum 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 ba da 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 ba 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 da da da.
An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-828-5242 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs and training. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this
A Jerry Jones caller. Didn't see that one coming. Hey, so remind me to tell you afterwards. It's a Batman spoiler that somebody pointed out to me, and I went back and checked it out. And there's a
Are we not beyond your thing?
no 2 weeks for a movie that size. 2 weeks.
We'll
got
be
till-
spoiling Saturday.
You got till tomorrow. No, tomorrow's 1 week.
Well, today technically is 1 week
Well, yeah.
because we saw it a week ago today. You and I. He won't do it. I will Saturday though.
No, I won't do it.
Not only will I do it Saturday, but we're having on the guy who runs South Carolina Comic-Con. So
What bracket are you doing Saturday?
well, the last one we have, video games.
Video games.
Which my money's on Siparoth to win that whole thing, but he probably won't.
The video game?
Yeah.
Or the overall?
No, the video game thing. Overall, I have no idea. I mean, I kind of have I kind of have who I think will win.
Yeah.
And I'm probably, I don't know, 75% on that usually. But this is a different kind of bracket than I mean, all the other ones I think were pretty easy to predict. This having 4 categories makes it different.
So the Ibis, the Miami Ibis, is right behind the referee. And every time they pass the ball, he sticks his arms up and does that. And I was like, what is the referee doing?
The heck's an Ibis?
All right, let's get a phone call in here before we take a break. William has called in to talk about my favorite story of the day, the Jerry Jones lawsuit, I think, or maybe just to make fun of Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Who knows? We'll find out. William, welcome to the show, big dog. Glad to have you.
Hey, glad to be here. That's what I was wanting to talk about. I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, and people who know me probably see my car drive around town with Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin on it, so you know who I am. People in Spartanburg know who I am.
Love it.
Yes, but my thing is, Jerry Jones, and what do you think is going to come about if this is his child?
I don't know, right? Like, I don't think he's going to welcome her into the Cowboys family. I don't think that he's going to turn over control. I think he'll probably end up in a lawsuit for a bunch of his money. But Jerry Jones is also a multi-billionaire, so it's not like it's going to hurt him.
You know what this is about? This is about getting some of that will money because Jerry's getting older, and that's what this is about. It's about 100%. Getting in on that.
100% it is. Especially if it's all true. I mean, there was a guy, William, not to sidebar here, but there was a guy in jail a number of years ago named Jonathan Lee Riches, and he was known for filing these random, often hilarious, crazy lawsuits against people. And a lot of time he just did it for attention, right? To keep his name in the news. And he used that as a platform for him to be able to bring people's attention to him to help get him out of jail. If this story is legit, then yeah, she's going to want in on some of that inheritance money when JJ kicks the bucket. There should be plenty to go around. If it's not, then nothing happens. She maybe gets hit with a frivolous lawsuit thing. But if JJ paid this woman, $100,000 to go away in the 90s and he's worth $8 billion, she's probably going to get a little piece.
Yeah, it makes you look guilty for the simple fact that he paid the mother. I guess they had some kind of agreement, from what I understand, several $100,000, however much it was. And that makes you look guilty. And I'm like this: will he, if this child is his, will he accept them in the family? Because usually when you got that kind of money and you turn your back on a sibling, it doesn't look good for you. It makes you look bad.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, real quick. I met Jerry Jones in an elevator at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama, back in 2012, something like that. Met Jerry Jones in the elevator, and we were at the Battle House Hotel, which is where the owners and coaches and scouts and all that do dinners before they go, or after they come in from the Senior Bowl, before they go across the street to a little bar called Veets. I was friends with Brian Harper, who was a brother of Roman Harper, a Saints player, and I got to have dinner with Sean Payton, who is friends with JJ. Jerry was there, Mickey Loomis was there, Stephen Jones was there, and a couple of other Saints and Cowboys admins were there. And as we're leaving the dinner, we get in the elevator to go downstairs to cross the street to the bar called Veets. And JJ, it's me, him, and Peyton in the elevator, right? And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, son, you bought your new tickets to because they had just opened up the new stadium, right? The next year open. You bought your season tickets to the new stadium yet?" And I said, Mr. Jones, I'm a Saints fan. And he goes, "Well, that's all right. You can come on down and watch some Cowboys games." I said, "Well, Mr. Jones, I live in Florida. I don't really have travel to Cowboys games, and I'm a Saints fan." And he goes, "Well, you can come on down and buy just individual tickets, come see some Cowboys games. You got to see the new stadium. It's going to be nice." And I was like, "Yeah, we'll see, And he says, "You got any Cowboys fans in your family?" And I said, "Yeah, a couple, we're from, they're over in West Louisiana." And he goes, "Well, have you brought them any new Cowboy sweatshirts or hoodies or anything like that?" He's selling me merch constantly to the point that I could not wait to get out of the elevator and get away from Jerry Jones, right? Sports broadcaster. Being locked in an elevator with Jerry Jones is a dream for guys in my career. And I could not wait to get off the elevator. And he knew it, and he did not care, because he had one mission, which was to get money out of little old poor broke ass college student Rob Brown. He does not care what anybody thinks. He never has, William, and never will. The only way to be a billionaire is to be a sociopath who does not care what other people think about you.
Yes, it would be a dream for me because I had a Dallas Cowboys wedding. Yes.
And you got you got a woman who signed off on that for you, huh?
Well, it's either that or, well, I kind of put that in there. You know, like, I don't do this. She's been married once. So this is my first. So I gotta have a little say so. But I'm actually getting this Thanksgiving finally get to go to see my Dallas Cowboys. I've never been. I've always wanted to go, and I'm gonna finally get to go this Thanksgiving.
I love it. Well, I expect the week after Thanksgiving, I expect a phone call to hear all about it. William, appreciate the phone call, buddy. Good to talk to you. It doesn't matter. If it's Jerry's daughter, he gives her a buttload of money to go away. And if it's not, then she goes away. It is what it is. You know? I don't think breaking news, billionaire had baby back in the 90s. Video at 11. Like, nobody cares, right? It's just, nobody cares.
Is he still with his wife? I'm thinking maybe she probably
You think
cares.
she's going to leave him?
No, but I think she probably
Right.
cares. I mean, you said nobody
maybe.
cares.
Maybe. I got to tell you, Lonzo, I could put up with a lot of emotional garbage for about $1 billion. I'll let you, whatever you call this, punch me for $1 billion. Twitter next to wrap up the show on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
Hundred 935-7144. 800-935-7144. 800-935-7144.
So to answer your question, Tayshaun, Rob detests it with all his being.
Okay, that's just a lie.
But I'm a fan. I like some anime. When Dragon Ball came on Toonami, and my son was the right age, we started collecting Dragon Ball stuff. So I've been into Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. I also love My Hero Academia, and I am 551 episodes into One Piece.
So yes is the answer.
I'm kind of a fringe fan. I'm not the diehard fan like my buddy Tim, who's on with me on Saturday nights, who is still downright angry about Death Note not getting any love at all.
He was really.
He wanted to keep going too.
He was like, and then he gets to the end. He's like, I just want you guys to know, like, I really care about this. I'm like, dude, you've been talking about it for 20 minutes after the conversation was over.
Yeah, but I already knew that anyway. Be passionate about what you're into.
I'm not mad at him.
Just don't, get violent about it. That's all. Not saying that he is, but at least not yet.
Not yet. Maybe a bit beefy. That's me.
It's Big Lou.
He's on meds too.
Look up Big Lou, by the way. He exists.
He really is.
Yes.
And he absolutely looks like a mafia enforcer.
Yes, he does. Without a doubt. Which is why there's a perfect voiceover for him. Hey, yo.
You need some insurance? I got some insurance.
Maybe you know someone's going to need some insurance soon. All right, time for Twitter trending topics. I love this one. Man, I hope you know what it is, but if not, Jeff Passan is trending.
So notice two things. Number one, Passan got called out the other day because he allegedly sent a text to one of the players after the owners presented a proposal and said, you are not about to accept this bull boat proposal, are you? And one of the other ESPN personalities, then Jeff Passan disappeared from Twitter for 3 days, right? Right in the middle of negotiations, just went MIA from Twitter, leading to speculation that after he got caught up in this, ESPN suspended him for not being impartial, and then somebody else called him out. But now his Twitter account is like an NFT bro Twitter account, right?
Yeah, it's been hacked.
Yeah, to the point that earlier I went to go confirm a tweet that he sent out, and I pulled it up, and I knew it was the correct Twitter handle, but then it was like an NFT Twitter bro with GM Scullies, which it's just weird stuff. But now it looks like it's kind of back to normal. I don't know what's going on with Jeff Passan. All right,
He got hacked. That's fine. Oh.
That's it for us. Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel's up next. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap it all up on a Friday in the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Later, brother. Someone on the other text line just texted, thanks for ruining Santa for thousands of kids. So I don't know what's going on over there.
Way to go, Dave.